every city basically was a star city. It had these stars around them, but they were all walled, but also somatic shapes. These are the moats, we're told, right? Because we're all taught that castles and, you know, were these square buildings with a moat. But when we can see them from above, there's these intricate somatic patterns, and clearly you can see why we call them star forts, because they look like stars.
So here's one in Portugal, one of the star forts, the huge amount of terraforming around it. Amazingly, this one is still in pretty much pristine condition compared to the destruction of most of the ones you find today.
Piano notes. As you can see, these are all cymatic. A sharp, B, C, and they're all these cymatic shapes. These are cathedral windows, this line here. These are, you know, rose windows or all in cathedrals. And these are cymatic patterns, which are created through frequency, so either harmonics or intention. Down here we have, this is our DNA, so these are fractals or cymatic patterns of our DNA. This is what we get when it's good intention. We get these perfect, you know, geometrical shapes, and when it's bad intention, we get this goo. So this is like a polluted river, and this is like a clean river. And so if we tie this back to the cathedrals that have got these windows, and they're connected to the ether with all these spires, and then what else do we have in cathedrals but these things called organs, right? And we have these things called organs in our body, and we just, the DNA, you know, cymatic is the same as some frequencies in these windows. So what this is all looking like is these are you know, healing factories, or not even healing, wellness, I guess, just to keep people well. They're pumping out frequencies.
You can literally Google any city of the old world from the 1600s and back, and it will come up in these star fort shapes, and every single one is like Venice, and there's canals everywhere. Those were the highways of the time, but they were also so much more, with all of like this hidden technology, infrastructure, and buried history.
And you can see this one again, always these big cathedrals in the cities, but here's one of the stars, right, or batteries attached into the wall. And there's even another one of these more sort of irregular shaped ones out here, but they always have these stars attached, you know, to these star cities. And again, the canals, and you know, you can see this is a big island kind of thing as well. But the thing is with water's free energy. You know, you float a boat, you use the current, right? The current.
How about the water wheels? What are water wheels? Water wheels are harnessing power. Electricity just as much as it was the physical power and mechanical power that they used out of it. What's to say that windmills and water wheels weren't actually generating hydroelectric and wind power a few 500 years ago?
This is a drawing. This is New York City, right? Battery Park is because this is what was there, a battery. Hello. How are we all?
Everyone.
And Bernie is here. Thank you for hanging around and waiting for us.
And Ben is here. And Cambell is here.
We're from Waking Up with Analog, and he is doing his first stream. So make sure you all go across and subscribe. He now has a YouTube channel, and it's called Waking Up with Analog.
And we are live on it right now. Ooh, 6 likes right now.
We're actually streaming on 16 platforms as we speak. So
that is what took so long. It was one heck of a ridiculous setup, but it's true. We are live on 16 different accounts right now. We are on 5 YouTube channels. That is AutoDidactic, channel number 1, Crypto Alchemist, my second, BurnEye, mine's third eye, ScienceGuy. The third, we hijacked Andreas Sertis's. Hopefully, Andreas is able to join us in time. And we are live on Ben's Waking Up with Analog channel. And the first,
and also Facebook, Twitter, OdySee, Rumble, and Twitch. We're everywhere, man.
Right? Like 3 Rumbles, 2 OdySees, 2 Twitters, a Twitch, It's ridiculous. It's the multi-stream. It's a whole new age.
So welcome to everyone in chat. Hope you're doing fine and dandy. 184 of you across those however many channels it is. And of course, we're our special guest tonight is Ben. And so we're going to be delving into some giant stuff from the past. If you haven't seen Ben before, he looks into old newspaper clippings, which is, that's something that they can't change, right? And back in the day, newspapers had journalists, right? And journalists actually had journals. They actually went out and talked to people and wrote things in their journals and got stories. So there's a lot of good stuff in the past in all the newspaper records. So welcome, Ben.
Yeah,
say hello to the audience.
Yeah, the papers are great. Yeah, it's been a lot of years inside of them. I know them pretty well now.
I bet all that microfiche and microfilm, and I mean, you must. I was thinking about it just before, like how long does it take you to find like an article? Do you literally have to go through newspapers, or are there ways to search like articles within newspapers, or do you just sit there?
I use all kinds of different sites and different apps. On my phone, the only one I really use is Library of Congress, because their mobile coding is really good. But a lot of the state-ran archives are horrible on your phone. Like, you can't see everything and you can't zoom in properly. It's just really buggy. But if you're on a desktop, I always recommend using State. About a year and a half ago, I went through every state archive I could get into, because eventually I'm going to do a series where I do a state and do a video on a state and all the things I found. And certain states have different programs, and some are really, really good. Like, you can search very specific, like how many words in between whatever it is you're looking for, if it's just in the title, if dates and times, and they're all different. But yeah, keyword search is huge. Obviously, that saves me a lot of time.
Yeah, I was going to say it.
But like, when I'm looking for something specific from like a date, like I spent probably 200 or 300 hours reading all the papers around 1811 and 1812, the New Madrid event. And that just involves reading just about every paper you can find. I did the same thing during 1942. I went through a phase where I was pretty obsessed with the Philadelphia experiment, and I was looking at all the other Tesla-type EM experiments that they were running at the time, radium experiments. So that involved just kind of a lot of like scientific jargon. So it really just depends on what you're trying to do. But yeah, you spend enough time, you get pretty efficient at it. But somebody who wants to just use it on their phone casually, I would say Library of Congress is probably one of the best. But if you really want to go deep, you got to just start accessing every state one, because they're all different. Like, I can search a phrase on Library of Congress, and if I go on a state archive and search the same phrase, you're going to get completely different things. So they are different. They don't have a lot of overlap. So it can be a little spotty. So yeah, you got to cross your T's. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. I mean,
yeah, and it's good too. You're bringing out a lot of stuff that we just don't know. Right? It's hidden history, isn't it? Like completely. Yes. But it's evidence based. It's factual. You like literally people talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, the way people wrote, especially the news or whatever you want to call it, 150, 200 years ago was very different than it is now. And just due to the sheer size and difficulties of control, and, electronics has made it much easier to control things. And you can have, you have such a thick level of bureaucracy that, just getting a building permit can take years. So you can imagine if you finally get your building permit and then you hit, an ancient ship or a pile of bones. I mean, you're basically screwed. And there's 5 people that you have to call, and then they all have to come out in person. Whereas in the 1800s, farmers were plowing their fields and digging up unbelievable things all the time. I mean, this was a regular occurrence. I use the phrase "we stand on the shoulder of giants" all the time, and it's absolutely true. Not just caves, but burials, mounds. People just scattered. In Tennessee, they found a graveyard of dwarfs, and they found over 100,000 bodies.
Wow.
So I mean, we could go
100,000.
Yeah,
What?
100,000. Mm-hmm.
And so what happens to all that? Does that just get turned into fertilizer or something? Like, what do they do with it all?
I always use the Indiana Jones reference, where the
Right,
artifacts.
the Smithsonian.
That is absolutely, from a historical standpoint, what was happening.
Then
And
they must have a crap load of stuff.
Oh, it's underground, because we're talking endless amounts of square footage would be required to store these artifacts. So I can't imagine it being in an actual building. I'm sure some of it is, and some of it are in museums. I've talked quite lengthy about that I believe the majority of what we call Egypt of the East is a fraud, and in the 1800s, the Smithsonian verbatim was stealing artifacts against the will of the governors of the states and the regions, and were sending them to the East and to museums in Europe.
Wow.
The oldest mummies in the world and the largest quantity of mummies come from North and South America and Mexico. It's not even close. I mean, in Mexico, I have articles where they found tombs in the mountains that had over 1,000 mummies. Same in Colorado, stuff like that all over. And yeah, they're much older, and with texts that you would, prescribe to the Egypt as we think of it today, but from America, Egyptian, Assyrian, Coptic, all of these quote different languages of the East. Yeah. And I postulated.
Thank you, Dave's Waffle House, too, for your kind donation. Yes, so I mean, that's what's coming out. Obviously, Dr. Longo, Old World Florida, is doing a lot of work on this. But so you're saying basically they were finding all these Egyptian-esque artifacts and in America and mummies and things, and then sending them to Egypt, what we call Egypt today, and setting them up as the history there. Basically,
there's been a lot of good videos done by a bunch of different channels that have shown in the early 1900s where they were constructing a lot of these Egyptian monuments that we know today. There were plenty of old tombs and all these things in Egypt. And I'm not saying that all of them are not legit. I'm just saying a lot of what has been propped up as archaeological tourism is a fraud, or at least it's been plastered over, and the true history of it has been manipulated or changed or edited. Whereas in America, and again, why I love the old newspapers, you can really see the breaking ground, so to say, of these finds and what was happening. And the majority of them, 90%, they call them Smithsonian. And again, because of, we're dealing with such a date where, it could take a month or longer to get an agent out there. You didn't have all this bureaucracy lockdown. So you had the people who would find it, and then they would explore it, and then they would charge all their neighbors to come look at it, and they'd be making money off of it until the Smithsonian showed up.
Well, yeah, there's that famous story of that giant that the two brothers found, and they ended up putting him in formaldehyde or something, and took him around to all the fairs for a year, and there's still photos of him. But of course, now it's
there are a few of those, right? Like,
yeah, there
the circuses would have like all the giants, all the Sasquatch, all of the different mummies, anything that was from that old world left over. They would then tour them and display them, and that's why it would be the freak show, because it's they would always be exponentially more than what we're led to believe.
Yeah, some of those were frauds. You know, and I like to share the ones that are frauds too, just because it's interesting as well. But at this point I've found so
Well,
many that
yeah, the
it's
thing about
beyond
frauds
reasonable
is,
doubt that it's all
and frauds have to be based on something, don't they?
yeah.
Like pretty much normally, like it's like the fraud wouldn't come first; it'd be the originals, and then people trying to rip them off because they can say they can make money from it.
Yeah,
That's normally how.
absolutely. There were people that wanted to make money. You know, they found it on their land. You know, I'm a big lover of caves, and I've found hundreds of caves. Some of them are absolutely beyond belief. And in these times, you own the land, you own the cave, and they were charging 5 cents for people to come and take tours. And so you have such a wealth of what I would have, in my opinion, is honest information before
So
it gets turned into a national park and the majority of it is closed off. That's what happened with some of these gigantic cave systems, or most of them. They either
yeah,
are still in private hands, which I would say is now the government, or they were turned into a national park, and 90% of the cave is now off limits due to safety concerns. But the reality is, it's not about safety; it's about whatever lies beyond
safety.
Yeah,
Well,
because
this is what Paul's finding out. Like all these things he's finding are all blocked up and bricked up, and he even went to a few, filmed them and put it up, and then went back and they'd since been blocked up. Like people had gone in and obviously seen his video and gone, oh crap, and gone back and bricked them in.
Yeah, and some of these are like straight out of fantasy novels. They're walking into caves that are, some of the caves are. There is a cave in the Ozark Mountains that went on for 300 miles.
300.
Correct.
Wow.
And there are other ones that they postulate go thousands of miles that they did.
The ones that connect from like the tip of South America all the way up through Central America, and they say goes to the tip of North America and vice versa under the seas, and the ones from like the UK to Egypt and all over the place.
Yeah, there were writers in the 1800s that were postulating that there are multiple underground rivers and underground oceans that are wholly navigable by ships. And again, I've found articles where they find whole ships underground, whole ships connected with subterranean lakes. In Washington, they found a cave that went on for 15 miles. They found a giant underground ocean, and their light couldn't light up the ceiling or the sides of the wall. It was so vast. And at the shore of this underground lake were two petrified giant boats, both 30 feet long. And they resembled what they called Viking schooner type ships, which is again, Phoenician or Etruscan or Mediterranean style. And then they found, go ahead.
Do these waterways connect with above ground, or are these boats, would they have to have been fully built underground?
Built underground. They do not connect. No, the caves, the cave entrances connect to the surface, not the water. At least
the water. Yeah,
and they weren't able to navigate. They built their own boat on this one in Washington, and they mapped out 18 plus miles, and it got too much temperature fluctuation. You find a lot of these caves, they're either incredibly cold or they're incredibly hot. Sometimes it's right in the middle, but sometimes they become ice caves. There was a cave in my home state that they found in the 1800s, and they called it the Great Ice Cave. And they were shipping ice all over the whole Pacific Northwest, all the way to California, because it was so large, huge, they never reached the end of it. And it was producing such incredible large amounts of perfect ice, perfectly clear ice. They also talked about the stream, the underground streams in this area. The water was so pure and healthy that it was curing people. It was healing streams.
So like prime water kind of stuff.
Exactly. You find I mean, it's endless. Again, I have hundreds and hundreds of these on my Twitter page for those who don't know or don't follow me. And
please share your Twitter right now. You can present it and load it up good bit. Welcome,
Stellium.
welcome, Mike from Stellium 7. And also, I see BurnEye's been telling everyone to subscribe to his channel, but don't do that. Subscribe to my channel because I need 11 people to hit 75,000.
Sorry.
And I've been trying to hit that for like 3 months, man. 11 people.
I'm gonna do them all. Just
and then you can go
I
to
was
BurnEye's and subscribe.
I was shilling the shit out of mine because there's more people currently on Waking Up with Analog. 26 on Ben's for his first channel, and on my BurnEye one, there was 21 when I did that. So, but yes, also definitely subscribe to AutoDidactic 1. He needs 11 new subscribers to make 75,000.
I just need 11 people. If
I'm
you add in
it right
public,
now.
tell the person next to you to get their phone out, show them the channel, get them to subscribe.
Stellium, did you still have the YouTube on in the background by chance, or are we getting some sort of reverb?
We are getting a little bit of a Doppler, aren't we?
Oh, sorry, I meant to.
He's got to plug in. Good to plug in. So before we went live, you told me a bit of a theory on star forts, Ben, on what you think they might be.
I've talked about this before, but all the star forts are connected with water. I mean, not all of them, but most of them. Some are built up in the mountains, and they're connected by ways of, streams or wells, or, they're connected to the same source as a lot of these rivers if they're not on the river or on the ocean. And over all the years of just my own studies, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I agree predominantly with what Edgar Cayce was saying about Atlantis and this advanced culture that covered the globe. And I would correlate star forts with the same culture because they talk about a very similar tech. Cayce does. The crystals, sound, cymatics, magnetism, and water being the predominant intermediary between all of those things. And obviously, they were a great merchant society. And when you cover the globe, you find, as I was reading to you off air, the concept of this whole Venice, that all of these ancient cities were like Venice. And the oldest Venice type cultures you find here in Middle America. Venezuela is named after Venice. Tenochtitlan, Mexico City, was called the original Venice. All of Florida was called Venice. Tampa Bay was called Venice.
Yeah, right.
All over the Philippines cities they called Venice. These cities built on piles or pylons, a class of people living on the ocean, on the water.
Yeah, right. Nan Madol's like that, but it's sort of underwater now.
Yeah, and in the earliest, just using the newspapers as a reference, because that's my niche. They were shooting down the narrative of them being anything to do with military. In the 1800s, they were that some of the Indians had moved into them. They were abandoned at this point, and it had been for, I would assume 100, 200, sometimes more than that, 300, 400, 500 years. They'd been abandoned, and some of the natives there had moved into them. And all of the ones that I've found articles for all said they were connected with huge amounts of underground water, and that they had tunnels. Some of the ones on the Mississippi, and yes, there were star forts all over the Mississippi. They've been completely dismantled or were buried in some event, probably the New Madrid event. All of New York, Philadelphia area was covered in star forts. Basically, all of the major waterways of Eastern America were covered in star forts, and they were all connected by underground tunnels, in my opinion. I have scriptural proof of that, textual proof, sorry. But I theorized that they were all connected like this. And in these tunnels, they found that they connected with mounds. So star forts were connected with mounds. And what people have to understand is not all mounds are burial mounds. Some of them are actual pyramidal structures. And Native American cultures of Mexico and the southwest of America described mounds or pyramids as arcs. So their story of Noah's Ark was that it was a pyramid, not a boat, and that they were entrances to the underground, and that's how they survived the floods, and that there were multiple floods, multiple events. The Mayan have a cosmology of 4 resets, all by different elements: wind, air, fire, water, so forth. And, mud flood being one of them, fire being one of them, water being one of them. And that there's this incredible labyrinth that I think covers the world. And why were people so inclined to build underground and go underground? And, a lot of these old cultures, they talk about their ancestral roots come from underground, inner earth.
Yeah, the ant people and stuff. It's always, it's always confused me, when I came across places like Derenyaku and that, and, escaping floods. It's like, going underground's a bad idea, isn't it, when there's a flood?
If you're advanced enough to build some of these caves that I found,
I guess they had if it was a cave, you can imagine that, they'd have dry places and the water would kind of go down into the
and they sound so in a lot of these really advanced caves where we're finding, giants and tombs and living spaces and cities and running water, they often find these really deep chasms that they sound to over 3,000 feet. So I'd imagine drainage for any kind of overflow, and they're connected with underground streams. So
Peru, right? Like the Nazca, it goes all the way from the top of the mountains that they chiseled in and all the way under the desert to the ocean, thousands of kilometers that they've done these, and it's all over the world.
Yeah, and I talk about terraforming a lot, and I think you're dealing with a culture that was building star forts in a very similar manner, in a very similar construction all around the world on a scale that would take, hundreds of millions of people working nonstop for hundreds of years to build on this scale. And then you loop into that I postulate that if we were capable of that, we were building whole continents, whole, continent might be a stretch, but whole islands. There are many islands that I believe were man-made. We've shaped land. We've, you just look at Brussels and parts of Northern Europe where entire countries are literally shaped by hand.
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands. It goes on and on. It's endless, really. And all of Mexico City. When the Spanish got to Mexico City, they basically said it was the most beautiful city they'd ever seen in their lives, and they couldn't believe it. There's no way these people were building this, And and then they just built over the top of it. I actually just shared an article recently. I found this old article. They were doing excavations. There was an earthquake in Mexico, and they had to do some repair work on the main cathedral there in Mexico City, and one of the walls was damaged. And they started digging down, and they found a whole nother pyramid underneath the cathedral there, and they found huge tombs, hundreds of bodies. It went on and on. So. Again, we stand on the shoulders of giants. There are cities like this all over Italy. Constantinople sits on 4 different cities. So when they were having to do waterwork repairs on Constantinople in the late 1800s, and they dug down and found 4 different civilizations, 4 different huge cities. So you take a city like Constantinople and you see how beautiful it is and how the monstrous sizes of some of these buildings, the mosques there, the churches, and you think there's 4 different
getting
levels
bigger, no doubt, on the way
underneath
down,
a city that big. And I think this is realm wide. I wouldn't necessarily 4, but 4 seems to be kind of a magic number, and it kind of ties in with what I was telling you about the Mayan saying that the world would reset 4 times. So that was a roundabout way, kind of a quick synopsis of what I think. But an advanced culture that was building just about anything. I would say the majority of the major waterways of the world have been, if not sculpted by man, manipulated by man. And Star Forts forts play a big part in that. I found an article from China. They were talking about this canal builder who was a Mormon who had worked on the Erie Canal and came out west to help build canals, but really they were just digging out canals. And he was saying he got into canal building because he read this old what he called a myth, but I don't think it's a myth. This person in China became emperor because there was a flood, and he built star forts and canals and drained the land. So the land had been completely covered in water, and there was nowhere to start farming and so on and so forth. So this whole concept of a deluge and using these star forts and systems of drainage, in my opinion. So again, how I said that star forts are multifaceted. I think, again, they do play a part in not only power, defense, drainage as well. Water flow is incredibly important, just like the Nile, creating land suitable for farming is a advanced art. And when you need millions of acres to grow food for an incredibly large amount of people, I mean, they found a city in Arkansas so large that every major city of Europe could fit inside of it. They said all Paris, London could fit inside of it, and they estimated that there were at least 12 million people living within the boundaries of this city in Arkansas. So you can imagine how much food you would need to do this. And me and Stellium have spent a lot of time on Google Earth, and shout out 13th Monkey as well. No one spent more time on Google Earth than him. And the majority of the American Midwest is completely terraformed. All the farming is built into squares, 1 mile squares, and it's been laser etched into the ground. And this is advanced. It was there in the 1830s. It was already there. So, we're horse and buggy, but we're building we're talking about, thousands of square miles, and they're cutting this grid into the ground.
The leftover farming land.
Yeah, for sure. Leftover 100%. And mechanical, showing the signs of the 3D printing, which I talk about a lot, that we're dealing with, kind of a mathematical computer-like construction of these systems. And that's nothing. There's a canal, or there's a system of canals in Africa that it's unbelievably large. I mean, it could grow. It would grow enough food for like 10 billion people. Just this one system in Africa. It's that monstrous. So yeah, I postulated that the whole
to 20.
Yeah, I postulated this whole realm was covered. 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 billion people probably. Who knows? When you get the idea of scarcity and not enough land and not enough food and all these things are complete farce. And and the best evidence is below our feet. That's kind of what I've been trying to show. So yeah, before I ramble too much, I only have about an hour before I have to get my kids up for school. So I'm just going to jump into one of my
if you want to
articles.
start sharing.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to add there, Mike?
Yeah, please.
Ready?
A couple of things. I was just thinking the grid lines that you mentioned, the 1 mile square, that a lot of those, they look like they go under the mountains. So that's kind of far out that, it appears like the mountains came after,
Exactly.
which is strange. In that area that you were discussing in Africa, there's an article about it where a guy was looking at how much food can be produced per acre on average, and he extrapolated that out based on how many acres there were in that region, and he estimated between 5 and 10 billion. But 13th Monkey, and he was looking deeper into that, and he found out that all the lines extended far further than this guy had realized when he made that article. So that's why I corrected and said probably closer to 20 billion could have been, and that's just a little tiny chunk
billion.
Of billion. Yeah.
Billion.
No, billion. The 20 billion could have been fed by that little chunk of Africa. And that's just one continent, obviously. So I totally agree with what Ben said about manufactured scarcity, and we're living in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've shared on my pages as well that when they dig into some of these mounds and some of these cave systems, Cambell, they find ancient wheat and ancient corn. And they did a study in the 1800s where they planted some of this corn and wheat, Cambell, and it was 20 feet tall, some of this corn.
What?
And the lowest stalk was 12 feet. The lowest stalk of corn, ear of corn, was 12 feet. And they grew to 20 feet.
What? Were they big seeds? Do you know?
They didn't describe the seeds, the size of the seeds, but they called it mummy corn and mummy wheat because they often found it with mummies. Because the mummies would bury themselves with, their prized possessions.
That actually sounds kind of like the monoatomic giant lettuce I grew last summer, and we're going to talk about that more on the next one when you have more time. Shut up.
It does because when they planted this corn and wheat, they said it looked unlike anything they'd ever seen. There was nothing like it left on Earth. And the ears of corn were like 3 times larger. The one stalk of corn produced 3 times more in weight than the normal stalk of corn. It had a dark color, and it was completely drought resistant. They starved them of water, and they grew fine. They never even shriveled. So this is like, again, we're talking about advanced agriculture on an incredibly advanced level. Same thing with the wheat. The wheat was producing 3 to 4 times as much, and it was drought resistant, so on and so forth. So, I mean, we're talking about engineering.
Very GMO level. By people with morals, right?
GMO, but, not like we're
for the good of the people, not by psychopaths.
But yeah, so, I mean, we could talk a whole show just about the crops that they were growing with the seeds they were finding underground, and it's pretty amazing. But cool, so this is an article from Arizona. And I'll just get right into it. Wonderful ethnological discovery, Ohio, 1871. Egyptian temples, ceremonies in Arizona. The Indians refused to go further. A vast black gulf opened down into the core of the earth, 2,000 feet below, 40 or 50 miles in width, enclosed in an unbroken, unscalable rim. Wonderful ethnological discovery, Egyptian temples and ceremonies in Arizona, remnants of a prehistoric race. So this is a long one, guys, so stick with me. In the New York World on Sunday has a 5-column letter from a correspondent at Santa Fe, which, if only half of it be true, will set all the ethnologic societies and literary bodies throughout Christendom agog with wonder and speculation. The letter purports to describe the adventures and discoveries of a certain plunky miner from the Rocky Mountains known as Mountain Jim, who, in company with a man named Tim Jennings, started for Denver last September in search of a mining country which would yield better fortune than to which they had been accustomed. Pushing forward day after day, meeting with constant disappointments in their hopes of finding paying loads, they at last found that they had gotten beyond the Colorado and Utah boundaries and had entered upon a country which wore so forbidding an aspect that even their Indian guides refused to accompany them further. It appears, however, that although the country furnished neither grass nor water, nor any living thing, save insects and reptiles, the devil-may-care spirit, which frontier experience is apt to provoke, still drove them forward. They had both sworn to go on until they found something, and on they went, alone, stumbling forward into a vast, arid waste in which they wandered for several days. They at last found themselves imprisoned in a desert, more malignant still. The upshot of it was that their mules died of starvation, and the agony of their thirst drove poor Jennings mad, and that in an insane paroxysm, he fell over a precipice and was dashed to pieces. After enduring incalculable horrors, Mountain Jim, now utterly alone and stumbling on like a man in a dream, suddenly perceived a vast black gulf that seemed to open down into the core of the earth, and while yet he stood transfixed by terror, the pulverized soil of the arid mesa sank under his feet, and he slid down 2,000 feet into a valley in the midst of the desert, 40 or 50 miles in width, enclosed in an unscalable and unbroken vertical rim. The valley was the scene of his remarkable discoveries. Omitting his description of its beauty and verdure and heads of cattle, we come to the point at which the real ethnological interest begins. He found that the valley abounded at intervals with the massive workmanship of human hands, invariably of stone couches, stone statues, stone tanks for holding water, and huge stone roofs supported by great pillars of stone. 2 stone causeways were also lined with a succession of stone houses, extending as far as the eye could reach, none of which had any windows, while all had the expanded wings of a bird rudely chiseled over the doorway. No human being had yet been seen by our traveler, but while engaged in the outer examinations of one of those houses, a startling cry broke out. The cry was instantly responded to from both sides. Simultaneously, every doorway was animated with darting forms. In less than a minute, says Harvey, both ridges were thick as anthills with people. I hardly knew what to make of the matter. At first I lifted my hat and kept on the road. The farther I went, the more fuss they made. They were the most extraordinary people. The men were half naked. The women wore brilliant blue and red tunics, like hung over one shoulder and buttoned under the left arm, and reaching down to the knees. The children hadn't a rag. Still, they didn't look like Indians or savages. Their complexion, a cross between the Indian and a mulatto. The women are wonderfully well-formed and good-looking. A great commotion ensued, but no attempts at violence. And presently, by signs, our traveler began to parley with them. The result of it all being that he walked ahead of them, followed by a number of guards, and by the whole populace for a distance of several miles, when the party halted at a massive gate, which opened and let the hunter and his escort into a vast courtyard, half a mile square, surrounded by a stone wall. In the center of the court stood an edifice which excited his utmost amazement, and which his description would indicate was strongly, if not exactly, Egyptian in character. We quote, "The enormous masses of stone of which it was composed, and the majestic appearance of its construction, were such as I had not previously beheld. The front was adorned with a cornice and a frise covered with figures and hieroglyphics. A portico formed of 10 or 12 columns in 3 rows stood out from the front, and the wings of the temple extended on each side. The shafts of the columns were covered by figures and hieroglyphics, raised in bas relief. Prominent among these figures was one, oft repeated, of the head of a female with cow's ears, an unmistakable resemblance to the Egyptian sculptures of the goddess Isis. The front of the doorway leading into the interior and the walls, architraves of the interior, were excessively embellished with figures, emblems, and hieroglyphics, some of them such as a nature that they materially assisted him in his subsequent conclusion as to the history of these people. His description of a circular tracery upon the ceiling, though not minute and exact enough to satisfy, would answer for a general description of the drawing of the zodiac. He was subsequently confined in a room as a prisoner, and thus confined for 2 weeks. His captors, however, left untouched his revolver, which oversight was the probable means of his escape. One afternoon, to use his own language, he concluded, to shoot off his pistol and see if he could wake up the shop. He fired twice in succession, aiming at the ugliest priest on the wall. The effect was immediate and gratifying. The ponderous stone door, swinging wide, revealed a cluster of dismayed guards. Discharging the revolver again towards the ceiling, he seized the occasion to stride boldly forth. With an air and a look intended to convince his persecutors that he was no longer to be trifled with. Pushing on through a long hall, down which the guards fled in terror, he passed into a vast apartment used as a sanctuary. There, the alarm given by the guards aroused a multitude of people prostrate on the floor. Here, the spirit of deviltry induced him to fire his weapon again. The report produced fearful consternation. The crowd, evidently looking upon him as a supernatural being, parted right and left before him. Everybody did him reverence. Priestley, a young girl whom he supposed to be the princess, accosted him in alarm and eloquent pantomime, entreating him to go away. With the assistance of a pencil and a thick stone slate, she explained that it was impossible to scale the barrier which surrounded the valley, but there was an uncertain river outlet to which he would be conveyed, and a barge provided to enable him to make the attempt. Arriving after 2 days' journey at the point selected and embarking in a boat furnished for him, the gliding current bore him into a narrow and gigantic alley between walls and a naked rock, which gradually enclosed him in impenetrable darkness. He felt that he was passing through a subterraneous canyon. After several hours of intense suspense, during which the current changed to a rapid and the rapid to a torrent, he reached the open light at the close of the next day, the habitations of the Yampas Indians at the head of the big canyon of the Colorado, from which pace he found his way to Santa Fe. His theory, based partly on his own observations and partly on the little communication he had with the persons while in prison, is to say the effect that centuries ago, antedating back farther than the discovery of this continent by Columbus, by many centuries, a big encampment of migrating and high civilized race was nearly destroyed by the convulsions of an earthquake, from the worst effects of which this now charming valley, together with a favored few men encamped therein, were exempt. The tumult and destruction of the event lifted the world around them into cyclopean ruins, and left them isolated forever between enormous barriers of rock, surmounted by an inaccessible embankment in the flimsy soil which no foothold could obtain. Saved thus by a miracle, rechaining the religion and numerous enough to represent the arts of their race, shut out from the intercourse with the rest of the planet, and impressed by the conviction that since no human form had ever seen and no human cry had ever been heard upon the verge above them, all humanity except themselves had perished. They and their descendants became possessed of an unchangeable fanaticism, which, while forbidding progress, prevented retrogression by continually impelling them to hold fast to the customs which the gods had sanctioned by the great tradition. That's it. Thanks for sticking with me there. But yeah, long one. But yeah, so an Egyptian city civilization found in below ground in the deserts of Arizona.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Wow.
right, like that whole area, like no wonder there's these legends and rumors of underground alien cities and underground DUMBs, military bases, and everything there now, because that entire area is essentially honeycombed for Futurama, the intro where they go in and then there's just city under city under city under city.
Yeah.
That's the Hopi prophecy, the 4 that have already happened, and that we're going into the 5th age. I also feel strongly with you on that one, Ben.
Yeah, and you know, for people that aren't familiar with my work, you know, a story like this is going to seem very much like fantasy. And that's fine. Again, I'm not going to say that this is, you know, obviously 100% provable, but I have countless articles on the Grand Canyon area, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. It was is one of the most amazing places. The canal systems in Arizona are hundreds and hundreds of miles, and we're talking incredibly advanced canals, not just dug out of the dirt.
And aquifers as well that are connected in between, right? Is that correct?
Some of the largest ruins ever found in the world. They found a building buried underground in Arizona that had 1,000 rooms. So you don't hear anything about that anymore. So you can only imagine.
Did they do nuclear testing in Arizona? I'm just wondering what happened to this place. Like,
most of it, from my understanding, was New Mexico, but they could have, for sure.
Yeah, but
I know
it seems a handy way to blow up these old cities, right?
Well, I think so. This city is part of, in my opinion, what was covered up by dams.
Okay.
The damming
yes,
of rivers has covered hundreds of thousands of
Well,
square
maybe
miles
that's what's
worldwide.
happening. Is it lake? What's the big lake in? Is it? It's in Arizona, isn't it? One that's drying up. Is it Lake Mead?
Yeah, that's in Nevada and Arizona, I believe.
Yeah, didn't they just? I heard that they passed some law that you weren't allowed to film there or something anymore just recently.
They were
I wonder-
finding too many dead bodies and different things coming up. And yeah, no doubt,
Or
as it goes
is
too
there a
low, they
city
wouldn't want
down
you
there?
filming because you're going to see the entrances to the underground cities
Yeah.
as well as the rooms of them.
Oh yeah,
Well, I mean,
the
dead bodies
Euphrates
could just be
drying
a
up.
cover.
They found tons of what they're calling stone tombs, but they're not tombs. Entrances to underground
Not the same
places.
thing.
Oh,
They
okay.
turn them into air raid shelters. That's the standard thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't go again. I prefer. I mean, living underground obviously is for safety. Yeah, what the exact reason was, giant creatures, plasma events, floods. Who knows? I think it was probably multifaceted. One of the ruins they were excavating in Arizona, same thing. They went down 3 different layers of civilization, and each one of them had bared markers of several things. One was volcanic. One was flood. So I think it was many things. And I don't know if we'll have time to get into this next one. Hopefully we will a little bit. This one's also from Arizona. And it kind of connects with what I was talking earlier about Edgar Casey and giants fighting giant animals. And but that was a long read. This one's not as bad, but still. So if there's more you want to talk about before I jump into this, definitely want to finish and touch on this one a little bit. But we could do a whole show on Arizona. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say real quick that what we're seeing is the deeper down you go, the more megalithic, but also when you get down deepest, everything's blocked off. Right? I mean, we've seen that a lot with the stuff that Paul has been showing. So you go down deeper and deeper, and everything gets bigger, and then there's a stop, and you don't go further than that. So they're blocking something off.
I was going to ask, have you found anything that talks about tech or anything that found in any of these places?
Yeah, absolutely. Crystals. It's not tech like you think.
Yeah, I was going to say different kind of
gemstones and crystals, and it's so many things. Advanced weaponry, but I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily think it was weapons. They often don't know how to describe things. They found staffs, which is interesting. I think, again, when we talk about a realm where a star fort provided some kind of advanced relationship with the environment and the people living in and around it. And for me, I keep going back to the ether. Just like when you live in a humid place, Longo, I've talked about this before. The higher the humidity, the higher the ether, the more conductive on an electrical scale. And
absolutely,
oxygen levels play a big part in that. And when we're talking about megafauna and giants, you need a lot of things to be involved there. And I think, Paul, good friend of mine, Black Sheep researcher with the Flock TV.
I think he's
we have a lot of overlays.
Paul, I sent you the link if you want to join in What the Flock, and you better come this weekend during the 48-hour stream. Everybody here is invited.
So I talk a lot about spells and spelling and grammar and grimoires and
yes,
the human potential of language and ether or the quintessence is the fifth element. The highest ranking in the secret societies of old was the level of Q or the level of quintessence. And not only did the merchant class have this same high rank, but as did the priest class. And this is when magnetism was taught to the adept. You were high enough now that you were taught not only to use the mariner's compass, but the secrets of magnetism. And
which is magic.
Which is magic, exactly. And not only that, it's vernacular, it's verb, it's your verbiage, it's what you speak into the ether, you know, ruha, pneuma, your breath, your sound, your ability to create good and bad, wizards and warlocks. You know, I always use the Tolkien reference. I'm a big Tolkien guy. And the realms and worlds he was constructing in his stories, I believe, were absolutely our past.
Have you looked into Tolkien at all? I've heard stories that he had access to old libraries of old books. Have you looked into him at all?
Oh, I love Tolkien. I've talked about him endlessly. Again, Longo is a Tolkien guy, and I postulated that Middle America is Middle Earth of Tolkien, and there's a lot of overlays on his maps. Tolkien had said before in private, again, you won't find an interview of this, and confirming this is difficult, but he has said to people before that his stories were based on real events. And if you want more of his insight, I recommend the Kalevala to anybody. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic.
What was that one?
The Kalevala.
Kalevala?
Yeah, it's like a mythology, a Finnish mythology.
So is it Finnish? Oh, nice.
If you guys
yeah,
like Lord
perfect
of
for
the
Luke
Rings,
to bring in.
yeah, you know the beacons in Lord of the Rings. If you guys have seen it, that they light to bring, So that is actually based on some beacons that are really near me. So there's one called Armada Beacon, and it's at this location that's one of the highest areas in the area. So if we had a flood, it'd actually be the only safe space. And it's got a giant beacon up there that they used to light, you know, if an invasion came. But the thing is, it's in the middle of the country, and it's not exactly very useful for people. So it does make you wonder if it belonged to a different civilization rather than us, because that's, you know, it's mid-northwest, nowhere near the ocean or anything, and it was supposedly built, you know, against French invasion and stuff like that. So it's nuts.
Yeah. On previous talks, I've shared a lot of my giant wall articles. America was covered in walls like the Great Wall of China, Mexico, Peru. I think these walls went from South America all the way to Alaska, probably crossing the Bering Strait, or what used to be the Bering Strait, all the way around the world. There's a Matt Damon movie. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's about the Great Wall of China and them fighting. The Great Wall of China was built to fight off monsters, not men.
Ah.
Yeah, I know the movie. Yeah.
What's it called?
So someone in chat, I'm sure, hopefully can help us out. But yeah, Karimo, shout out Karimo. He's in my chat. I posted a lot on the rock wall of Texas.
Michael Karimo?
And it
was called the Great Wall.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I got to email him for us to do one.
So they called this Great Wall of Mississippi. I'll just use this one, Ancient Historia, since you're listening and you brought up the beacons. They found a wall in Mississippi, and they called it the Brandywine Wall, which lines up almost perfectly if you look at the Tolkien Middle Earth map and you line it up with America, which is a lot of great artists who have showed the overlays. The Brandywine River is on the Brandywine Wall on the Tolkien map almost perfectly. And this Mississippi Wall, this Mississippi Great Wall, they verbatim in the 1800s said this is a continuation of the Great Wall of China and compared its construction being very similar. And this rock wall in Texas, why I bring this up is because the Mississippi Wall, they stole in the newspapers, flat out said they stole all the stone from it to build the capitals. They were like, hey, we're building a new Capitol building. These stones are already pre-cut. This is perfect. And they just took them all.
Take them.
So this rock wall of Texas, it's incredibly important. Karimo has a video out on it. Look it up, rock wall of Texas. They broke down the molecular structure of this wall and found it contained dozens of different minerals, metals, and crystals. Metals that weren't even available in Texas, not even close, thousands of miles away. Like, we're talking metals from the Congo, crystals from all around the world. So in this wall, again, connecting with the Casey stuff and my opinions of Atlantis, I believe this wall was energized. It was some kind of device. I think all these walls were like electrified. Yeah, they were conduit walls. They never reached the bottom of this wall. They stopped digging. They spent so much money and labor digging down. The wall kept getting bigger and bigger. The stones bigger and bigger. Like Stellium was saying, everything gets bigger, and Cyclopean it gets larger and more advanced. The cement gets more advanced. They never reached the bottom of it. But yeah, so there are walls encircling our entire world that have been buried by incredibly crazy events. There are lava flows in California. When they were doing mining, they found stone cities 400 feet below the surface. 400 feet of lava, and they find stone cities. And that's not the only one. They found stone cities underneath lava flows in Missouri, Tennessee, all over America. So we're talking some crazy, crazy events, unfathomable events, volcanoes, floods, mud floods. I mean,
do you have any idea of time for when you'd think these would be?
The events? I think there are multiple events. Again, I have a bunch of articles from Mexico. Same thing with Mexico, like I was talking about with Constantinople and Italy. They dug down beneath some of these temples that we see. We talk about these pyramids in Mexico. Well, they're on top of another temple, of another temple. They dug down 4 different layers in Mexico, and at the bottom, they found Chinese hieroglyphics. The base of everything in Mexico is Chinese, and it's not Chinese as we think of it. It's a very ancient form of Chinese. They called it Chinese hieroglyphics because they believed the writing of China was based off of these symbols. So like the pre-dating. And
pre-Chinese,
each layer, some showed fire damage, some showed people that were frozen in time, like a plasma event. This is all over California too, where people are like, kind of like Pompeii, but not exactly, where they're huddled on the ground. We're talking people that are frozen in time, like still in their kitchen. Like they found a stone house in California. They called it the American Pompeii. They excavated a whole city, and they found people literally frozen in place, like doing everyday chores, frozen in place.
Wow.
For me, that rings of a plasma event, and the plasma event could cause all kinds of crazy things. So you could have, people petrified instantly, and then, starts kicking off volcanoes, mud. It could just be a million things.
That's interesting. In England,
sounds like Lot's wife, doesn't it? Turning to salt. I wonder if that's.
100%. The salt thing for me is plasma.
Yeah, talking about plasma, that sounds like something that's been found in England. So about 40 years ago, they started doing tests, like dendrochronology tests on all the trees, and they found that about 1,500 years ago, all the trees in Britain just died around the same time. So obviously they started trying to figure out what this was, and they put it down to the 535 Krakatoa explosion. But obviously it's on the other side of the planet, and it didn't cause the same kind of stuff anywhere near. So people started thinking about what it could be, and this one historian found evidence of a comet. But thinking about a plasma ejection, it could be a similar thing, because the comet has seemingly flown over and it's melted stone. We've got fortresses in Scotland that are vitrified on the top, going down. So the atmosphere must have been thousands of degrees, to melt this stone. And then underneath, I think it's St. Paul's Cathedral, they actually found a person fused into the stone. It was that hot. A body had been fused into the stone. So obviously something's, and that was buried deep beneath the St. Paul's Cathedral, along with a stone that was written in Colburn that had a dragon on it, and they said nobody knew what a dragon looked like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I wonder if that happened at 420.
They have dragons relics all over America.
Well,
in fact, the only historical fossil of a dragon that I've ever found with all my time in the papers was found in Utah in a cave. It was 170 feet long, wings, and the guy
Wow.
So they called a specialist out, a fossil specialist, because it was found by a person, a miner. And I'll bring that up and I'll read that really quick before we touch on this article here. But the guy said that this is the only true dragon that anyone's ever found, and this is in the 1800s. Yeah.
So did that have like, was it just a skeleton, or did it have skin on it that looked?
No,
obviously
it was in a cave in Utah, well underground.
It's just because we were talking before that these dragons and that could be, bird. We know everything was bigger, in the vapor canopy in the past, so they could literally be birds or bats, maybe, because we've got the wing, but we get some pretty strange birds out there. So I'm just wondering if it was covered in feathers or if it had like, skin like a bat.
To be fair, going with all the dinosaur thing about how dinosaurs are supposed to have been feathered, I wouldn't be surprised if dragons also were way more feathered and actually looked like giant chickens.
Oh, they were feathered for sure.
Yeah.
Again,
okay. All right. Literally, they could just be giant birds, a kind of giant bird.
They could be, yeah. So again, I cover a lot of topics on my posts, and giant prehistoric animals that were still alive is something that I'm very fascinated in. And they found a giant reptile in Alaska that had been terrorizing some of the Inuit, and they sent a hunting party to kill it. And the Duke of Westminster was traveling from England to be a part of this hunting party. So this is a well-known event.
It sounds like some King Kong shit, doesn't it?
And they said it would cross the Bering Strait looking for food, and it lived underground in a cave. And there were people on the Russian side, this is the 1800s, that told the same story and had seen the same thing. It's Jurassic Park. And when they finally caught their first eye of it, it was carrying a caribou in its mouth, a full adult caribou, 700, 800-pound caribou. And it was running up an ice wall. And they never got it. But they describe it being this giant reptile covered in hair or feathers.
That sounds scary.
You can just search beasts on my Twitter page and you'll find tons of articles. There was a giant monster as big as 10 elephants hunting pygmies. It's crazy. All over the world there were remnants of these things. The Smithsonian in the late 1800s put a bounty out for $5 million for a dinosaur, or what they called a giant lizard, in the Congo. This is in public record. It's on my Twitter page. So what's $5 million in the 1800s today? A shitload.
Like billion or something?
Yeah. So that was that was the bounty on this lizard from the Congo. And they talked about all these different famous hunters who travel the world looking for big game that were on their way there to collect on the bounty.
Because that's we've still got stories of that dinosaur, haven't we? What's it called? Mo something?
They definitely accidentally released that, and they were like, "Hey guys, would anyone like to catch a definitely completely wild animal that we have accidentally?"
Well, yeah, and it's interesting that we have all these stories of these big game hunters, but they say, "Oh no, it was just lions and zebras and stuff," but who knows where did that all come from? And of course knights, and we have these strange pictures of swords with electricity coming out of them by the looks of it.
To be fair, who the hell is answering the phone to a call like, "Hey, do you want to go hunt a giant monster?" And he's like, "Yes, I'll tell there now."
I'll just go get my pith hat. Yes, I'm on my way.
Now, this may sound silly, but when you look into some of these presidents and a lot of these rich family people, this was a big thing. Traveling the world and hunting these rare monsters was
Teddy Roosevelt, didn't he?
Roosevelt, there were a lot of people.
Mm.
The people Roosevelt took with him, this was a big thing. These rich robber baron type people with lots of money and, looking for something exciting. So since we talked about the dragon, I'll just read this article really quick. So this is Pulse of Western Progress, Nebraska, 1894. Bold discovery in Salina Canyon, Utah causes a rush. 3 miles of rich placer ground. Hardships of the desert. A delirious wanderer rescued from his companion, found in his last slumber. Northwest News. Prehistoric monster reptile. Up in the mountains about 5 miles west of this town is a curious formation in solid limestone consisting of a circular hole having a diameter of about 3 feet in an unknown depth, which has long been regarded as the center of a prehistoric geyser, says the Townsend, Montana Messenger. Mr. J.P. Hardy, a well-known mining man, determined to explore it for the purpose of prospecting the rock for mineral. After descending about 80 feet in the passage, was found to be blocked by debris washed in from above, which after cleaning away disclosed the entrance to a vast underground cavern. As soon as he could accustom his sight to his surroundings, Mr. Hardy found himself in the midst of one of the grandest sights ever beheld by the eye of man. On every hand, stately columns, caused by the dripping of water through the limestone, rose from the floor in graceful form to meet a counterpart descending from the roof. A partial exploration of a few hundred yards brought him to what appeared to be a line of white barrel hoops, standing upright and extending away into the darkness farther than his one candle would shed its rays. Judge of his astonishment to find, on examination, that he had discovered the petrified skeleton of an enormous reptile, perfect in every detail from head to tail. The bones of the head showed plainly that the monster was well equipped for aggressive warfare. Curved fangs, hinged to the upper jaw, 18 inches long, lay in place in what was once a huge mouth, which could open easily 4 feet. Judging from the articulation, the monster lay in a nearly straight line, and Mr. Handy found upon pacing it off that it measured upwards of 120 feet. About 50 feet from the head lay a number of bones that appeared to belong to the skeleton, and Mr. Hardy concluded were the wings. Further examination disclosed the presence of legs, though only one was in good condition. Judge Watson, who has read much on prehistoric mammalian fossils, states that this is probably the only perfect specimen of a dragon in existence. The Smithsonian Institution has been informed of the find, and we expect we'll have a representative here in a few days. Mr. Hardy refused one offer of $20,000 for his find and states that nothing short of $50,000 will purchase it. He has been trying to keep the discovery a secret in order to prepare for the rush that is sure to follow its announcement. But we are here to write up the news, and our readers may look for more disclosure as the caverns are further explored. So, yeah. Pretty interesting. Yeah. Campbell's gone. Okay. I'm gonna jump in for all the people here, and since
I'm still here. We're still here.
I was just
Okay.
myself.
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, you're
no
gonna
worries.
jump in and read it by all means.
Yeah.
Yes. Please do.
So yeah, that was my dragon. Again, for people that want to look into more of my articles, you can just add me on Twitter. You don't need Twitter. You can just look it up on the website, 1_analog_9. But if you have a Twitter account and you follow me, you can search my archive using the little magnifying glass, and you can just type in a keyword, beast, dragon, whatever, and you'll find some of this stuff, and you can read on it further. So yeah,
just before you
the last thing I read, this is about an excavation made in Arizona. Yeah, here we go. First inhabitants of America, giants in physique, fought wild beasts in deadly combat 25,000 or 50,000 years ago. Warrior Emperor Tigrinus' tomb reveals that the first red-haired people in all history dwelt in America, and that strange basket makers of prehistoric Utah were a kindred people to his tribe. Weird relics show powerful humans erected pyramids. Mummies of prehistoric Aztecs found in the ruins in New Mexico indicate giant men built monuments far more ancient and greater than Egypt ever produced. New light cast on remarkable race. So this is a petrified basket. They mummified turkeys, which is incredibly interesting. Another picture here. The cover of the pothole tomb of Tigrinus shown above in coiled basketry like a merry widow hat. And then the mummy of the turkey. The first inhabitants of America, of which we have knowledge because of the extraordinary perfect mummies they left behind, are variously known as the basket makers and the spear throwers. They lived underground in the southwest, with their dead mummified in sealed potholes of chambers well below the surface. Their successors built cliff houses over them and either perished or moved along. Then on the top of these cliff houses came succeeding races who erected the more modern pueblo of which the famous Mesa Verde constructed 5,000 years ago. I'm just going to read highlighted parts and touch on stuff because I'm getting low on time and it's a really big article. The strange feature is that each succeeding race built a village or a city on the ruins. So again, civilization built on another civilization, built on another civilization. More ancient than Egypt. Naturally, certain questions have ever since been puzzling archaeologists. How did these strange people reach Grand Gulch, and where did they come from? He reasoned that they would only find basket maker remains and culture beneath other pueblos, and his discoveries have proved him correct. In Aztec, New Mexico, he selected a great deserted city or pueblo of the usual sky, scraper type of Zuni, New Mexico. Here he began excavations and entered cellar tombs so ancient that they make ancient Egypt modern indeed. The chambers he opened were sealed, not less than 25,000 years ago, and the mummies within were as well preserved as when placed therein. Two chambers are most interesting of the numerous recent discoveries in the Aztec ruin, an enormous prehistoric pueblo community dwelling near Aztec, New Mexico. The pine and cedar beams are as round as when the trees were felled, and on the wall stones the marks of the quartzite pebbles with which they were faced are as bright and fresh as the artisan who shaped the blocks. This room was a tomb of a gigantic warrior emperor who lay in solitary state against one wall immediately back of the recessed altar in the painted room. The body was that of a veritable giant, 6 feet 4 inches. So again, not like the giants we think of, who towered head and shoulders above the average man of his tribe. The mighty frame had wrapped in a mantle of feathered cloth and enshrouded with a mat of woven rush stems. 2 battle axes. Back of the body, there were 4 magnificent pottery bowls and a cup and a basket. Upon the skull rested a large spherical vase with a neatly fitting cover, both exquisitely wrought and ornamented. Within easy grasp of the right hand were the wooden handles of 2 stone battle axes, and by them a half knife of quartzite, so a knife made out of quartz. A circular shield, 3 feet in diameter, unlike anything previously found in the Pueblo ruins, covered the warrior from thigh to temple. It is an example of coiled basketry technique, the most primitive known, but unusually thick and strong. This is where it gets interesting. The outer surface of this basket shield had been coated with gum and thickly spangled with flakes of mica. When held in the sunlight, due to the numberless reflecting surfaces, the great disk would have shone with dazzling brilliance, perhaps sufficiently intense to have confused the vision of the archers who sought to drive his arrow through the shield to the flesh behind it. Of 13 mummies found in an adjoining chamber, one was the most extraordinary which had come to light in the entire ruin. Ancient witch impelled. The shrunken body thus impelled presented a spectacle so gruesome that at sight of it even the hardened excavators shuddered. It seemed probable that the old woman, had fallen into disfavor in the village and had been perhaps a witch, and had been subjected to this extraordinary and cruel form of torture and execution. So she was stabbed through the chest with a giant spear into the ground and left there to die. This gigantic warrior emperor of the basket makers, they named him Tigrinus, so that was just the name they gave him. Dr. Whistler informs me that we have here the actual founders of the Aztec and Benito culture, unless later excavations prove differently. Tigrinus must stand as the first emperor of the founders of the Aztec, whose later in wonderful structures adorned central Mexico in a line extending toward the Yucatan, and which extend eastward on the lost continent of Atlantis, the famed Atlantis of Plato. 250,000-year-old race. The basket makers, of which the Emperor Tringuinus was a symbol, were a Titian or red-haired race. At least all their mummies so far brought to the American Museum have reddish, wavy hair. If they were the founders of the Aztecs must be assumed to have been the first Titian-haired people on the earth of which we have knowledge. The hair color and the cross-section show positively that these first Americans never migrated from Asia, a land of straight black-haired people. So yeah, I'll stop there. But yeah, you get the idea.
Fucking giants everywhere.
They find saber-tooth, tiger bones. They find giant bear bones, rabbit skins, giant deer, giant horse bones. So they say that this guy was hunting gigantic animals.
Wow.
Giant everything from that time, and like there was giants, and then resets before that there was titans, and the last mega apocalypse before that they say everything was a megafauna, including humans.
Yeah, and I talk about Alaska a lot. Alaska in the 1800s was an amazing place. The things they were finding there were absolutely mind-blowing. Tropical cities. There were whole regions of Alaska where the ground was still so warm from who knows, water or volcanic activity or both, that they called it a tropical paradise. Wild animals like from the Amazon, parrots, like anything you could imagine, tropical fauna, giant fauna in Alaska. So these guys are stomping through snowy mountains, and they come across this tropical paradise in the middle of a snowy world with all kinds of tropical animals. Alaska was completely tropical, and not very long ago, because we're looking at like 1-2 resets ago, they had mega fauna, tropical fauna there. Off the coastline of Alaska, they have tons of ancient coral beds. Off the coast of Alaska, they found 26 pyramids. Yeah.
What?
You can
What,
go on.
underwater?
Yeah. Underwater, correct. 26.
Do we have coordinates for them? These are stuff we got to start investigating and finding all these Alaskan ones.
And I've got to ask now that you're up there, like
they were doing wire dragging, depth dragging, because they were working on creating a new, dredging for larger ships to come in.
Oh yeah.
So they do this method called wire dragging, and doing this method off the coast of Alaska, they found 26 pyramidal, one of them being 600 feet tall.
Oh gosh, is there any mention? Have you found anything about Hyperborea or extra land up to the north or anything like that?
Oh yeah, they talk a ton about Hyperborea. Again, we could do a whole thing on that.
Oh, okay. I'll book you in for that show then. You can do that on my channel.
Yeah, they were sending expedition after expedition to get to these islands, north of 70 degrees, and, lots of people died. They talk about animal migrations, and I mentioned the beasts that come from underground. But here's that article I just mentioned here. Discovered by wire drag. Dangerous rocks and ship canals off the coast of Alaska revealed by sea sweepers. In his annual report to Congress, Mr. Redfield, the Secretary of Commerce, urged 200,000 to be appropriated to survey with a wire drag the more important ship canals off the coast of Alaska. Blah, 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 blah. The discovery by a coast survey party working with a wire dragging in southeastern Alaska of a pyramidal rock that rises 600 feet from the bottom to within 17 feet of the surface of the water. As it is surrounded with water 109 fathoms deep, the chance of it being discovered with a sounding line was extremely slight. On that part of the Alaskan coast, the rock walls of the channels are nearly perpendicular, both above and below the water, within 300 feet of the shore depths. So it sounds like a man-made wall to me. And from 120 to 600 feet are not unusual. Wire drag surveys of these waters, which are the main thoroughfares of the popular Inside Passage, have already revealed 21 dangerous rock pinnacles. So 21 pyramidals, and the largest being 600 feet, 17 from the surface. Now, they did this same method off the coast and rock walls, big wall, perpendicular.
Mm.
They've done similar surveys like this off California and near Catalina, off the coast of Santa Barbara. They found several pyramids in the water there as well. But yeah.
What are you putting up there, Luke? Sorry, Luke's picking up a picture of something.
Yeah, one of those islands, one of those Channel Islands, is just military only. So who knows what's there.
Yeah, and me and 13th Monkey spend a lot of time exploring all of the Aleutian Islands, and all of the Aleutian Islands are completely buried. There's a star fort on one of them. Yeah, all the way over to the Russian side, there's just buried city. You can just see this. You can just see the remnants. They're just buried. You can see it's just like a buried star fort all over.
You see it on Google Earth, like that. There's so much of the ocean is blotted out, and it's like, why would they do that? You know, not to mention Greenland, right?
Yeah.
So who knows what's going on up there?
Oh man, Greenland. Yeah, crazy place, Greenland for sure. Yeah, they were finding all kinds of crazy stuff on all along the oceans there.
Dumb fuck.
And the Inuit of Greenland said that there were stone cities under the ice all over.
You go to Siberia, the geography there is absolutely insane. So there's a thing called the Condor Massive, which if you go on Wikipedia, there's like fuck all about it. But it's this giant crater that's filled with platinum, and they do call it a crater sometimes, but not often. And they don't really tell you how it's formed. But if you look at what it looks like a giant crater or a giant volcano, basically in the, bang right where Tartaria is shown as being on maps. And then obviously you look around there, the geography of the area, it looks like it's been destroyed. It does raise some questions.
And full of platinum.
Yeah, full of platinum.
Yeah, so again, I could go, we bounce around a lot, and I could kind of just bring up stuff about anything we discuss. But the mines they were finding in America would blow your mind. There was a mine in the Nebraska territory where they were bringing out over $1 billion annually in the mid 1800s. $1 billion in the 1800s. They find diamond mines. There are diamond mines in America. Now you look that up today, and they'll say no diamond mines exist. They have diamond mines in Arkansas. They had diamond mines in Missouri. Really incredible mining was done here in America on an insane scale. Let alone the copper mines around the Great Lakes, which are absolutely mind-blowing.
Copper in Michigan. I've done quite a bit on this because it comes up in in our history with like the Welsh meeting the Indians and stuff over in America, and they supposedly had these mines, where they were bringing out copper and they were wearing it and stuff. So.
Yeah, the Phoenicians, the Etruscans, and again the Etruscans trace the roots. The Mexican race or the phenotype have Etruscan overlays. So the Phoenicians were here. I've talked about this a ton. They find copper because you can trace the copper. The metal has a signature. They found Michigan, Great Lakes copper all around the whole world, all over. Tons of it in Europe, tons of it in North Africa, tons of it in Spain, Portugal. So we're dealing with an advanced culture that was trading all over the world. Yeah, and not only that, they had a metallurgy. They could harden copper, which we still don't know how they did. We still don't have the technology to make hardened copper like they did. So,
and they had a special kind of brass, well, at least the old bells I've heard were made of a certain brass alloy that we can't make anymore.
Yeah,
they lose a lot of stuff, don't they? Can't get to the moon anymore.
The mining is crazy. We could just do a whole show on mining because I have hundreds on mines. They were finding huge mines, unbelievable scale, here abandoned in the 1800s.
Well, talking about the Etruscan language there, Etruscan people there, the ancient British language, which is Colburn, actually comes from Etruscan. So if you take Colburn and go over to around there, you can use it to decode like one of the stones. This is how they know about the tribes of Israel. One of the stones on Lemnos is inscribed with Etruscan. That we're going from here to Britain. And if you use Colburn, you can decode it. So they're obviously the same language, which means the ancient British people are the ancient Etruscans.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the Etruscans are the Phoenicians, which are the Finnish, and you find them all over America.
Yeah, exactly. It's nuts how all over.
So
if you use that language, if you use that language, you can decode Egyptian hieroglyphs. If you use Colburn with Welsh and stuff like that, you can actually decode Egyptian hieroglyphs more accurately than like what mainstream like academia will say you can.
Yeah, yeah, and I've done a ton on this with Old World Florida. We've really language is one of my passions, has been for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phoenician is Finnish, and you can the symbols and the runes and the runic, they all go back to symbols. And if you go back far enough, the symbols are almost all identical through all of these languages that crop up out of these same symbols. And yeah, Welsh is amazing. There were Welsh Indians here. The Welsh and Basque connection.
Yeah.
The Mick and Mac Indians of America, their language is almost identical with Egyptian hieroglyphics, and they were trading openly with the Basque people. So yeah, it's.
If you like language, you should look up this channel on YouTube. It's only a small channel. Unfortunately, the guy that runs it actually passed away last year, but it's called Britain's Hidden History, Ross. And he wrote a book called Chiroglyphics, where he'll teach you to actually decode hieroglyphs using Welsh. And then you can literally just look at any hieroglyphs and work out exactly what it says.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I mean,
check that out if you're interested.
A lot of the Aboriginal, runic language is Phoenician and Etruscan. And yeah, you can call it the merchant language. They came up with an alphabet and a language that they could teach people. Again, so many of these cultures talk about advanced sailors coming and teaching them astrology and language, teaching them time, calendars, and you can trace it all back to these same things. And the Bach Saga does a great job of kind of enveloping all of these stories, these mythologies into one consensus. And that's why I mentioned earlier the Kalevala, which was a big inspiration for Tolkien. And a lot of the languages Tolkien invented are based on these runic languages that we're talking about now, with just his own little twist on them. But yeah, so it's crazy. You can trace so much back to one source, and what that source is exactly, I don't know, but it's one or two groups of people. And language,
it's the survivors of the last reset, and they're based off the survivors of the reset before that, and then the one before that, and the one before that is what it is, right? Like it's what it seems to be, and that each one was one macro size larger or one micro size smaller from what was there before. And why we have in the Bible and all the ancient texts, there was giants in those days, and why there was megafauna in those days of the last ice age, when it was probably more a vapor canopy, like you were saying at the beginning of this bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Atlantis has many roots in different languages, but one of my favorites is the land without ice, Altlandese, and that during one of these resets was an ice age. And part of what I've done with Old World Florida is we've shown that the Gulf Stream, at least in my opinion, is man-made, and it was created, and that they constructed the shape of Florida, Cuba, and the Yucatan to channel this Gulf Stream into the Mediterranean and the Baltic and around as an
Dutch route. Sense, who was supposed to be here right now, but sadly, prayers to his uncle who just passed last night, and why he's not. But he will be with us either in 12 hours or this weekend for the 48-hour stream, and he's found undeniable just everywhere these massive macro scale size of building that, like you're describing, for those that are just hearing these ideas for a first time, it's like, no, it seems like literally our entire realm has been macro size of block, whatever that block game is.
Minecraft, man.
Minecraft, there we go.
Minecraft world.
And JZ Dreamers, I emailed you the link for this live right now if you want to join in, as in also Kuru. I emailed both of you lovely, beautiful souls the link in your emails to join if you'd like to. If not, No worries, Ben.
Yeah, the framer and the shaper. Well said, Grimo. Yeah, I've been throwing this idea around for a long time that we find proof of ancient mining on a massive scale. Bodies of water like the Caspian and the Black Sea show pretty undeniable evidence of being mining pits, and the Great Lakes show a lot of this evidence as well. And yeah, it can be a hard thing to wrap your mind around, but yeah, the Gulf Stream is man-made and channeled that way because these ice ages happen more often than we think, and the Gulf Stream keeps an open channel between the Mediterranean, Britain, Ireland, and the Baltic, with Middle America and the Gulf of Mexico. And that's why, as Old World Florida has postulated, that Florida was a remnant of Atlantis, or a port of Atlantis, and there is undeniable proof that it was a port for some incredibly large ships. I have some articles, again, from Alaska. The largest ship ever found, Old World ship, was found in Alaska. It was completely petrified, and it was 1,200 feet long. So you can imagine what kind of culture was building 1,200-foot long ships. And that kind of correlates with some of the giant stone anchors that have been found in Florida. 5,000 to 10,000 pound stone anchors, even more than that, would take some gigantic people to lift and drop, and they would be supporting a ship anywhere from 600 to 1,000 feet long. There's dredging to support this. Dredging in the Gulf of Mexico that shows they would fit a ship in that range easily. So,
have you read The Smoky God?
I love The Smoky God. I have a lot of articles that correlate with The Smoky God.
Because they describe the big ships, don't giants on these huge ships.
Yeah, I just did an interview with the Higher Side Chats, if anyone's familiar. It'll be out soon.
Absolutely great work with them. Long time, well established, great collection.
It was humbling. He's one of my favorite podcasts of all time, so I was pretty happy. That'll be out here in like the next week, and in that we go over my Smoky God article. Is an article from Colorado. Is one of my favorite subterranean articles. It's pretty mind blowing. So I read that on the show. So stay tuned for that.
All right.
But yeah, so I gotta get the kids up and fed and off to school. So I love you guys.
Well,
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and Cambell, anytime we'll plan the next one out, and you can kind of give me an outline.
Well, before you go, right now, quickly, this weekend, 48-hour stream. Saturday is it that we agreed on for doing the alternative history for the 12 or 24 hours of it. You are more than welcome back for that. We're going to have you, and we'll try to get maybe Juan and also Old World on with us, as well as Paul Cook and yourself, Ben, or at least at some point in that 48-hour to do another big one. And Karumo Ahu, if you want to join us right now, brother, I emailed you the link to this exact stream right now, and J Dreamers is also about to join us. Analog, before you leave,
Ben, I'm definitely into it. I want to do anything on the North Arctic, that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
We
can talk about animal migrations and how once you get past a certain latitude, all the animals go north. They don't go south.
I've heard something about that. Okay.
So, fossil records. But yeah,
tie it into the Bach saga as well.
Yeah. But yeah,
awesome.
Mike,
okay, so we'll have a good day.
Before you take off, Ben, do you want me to end it on your channel right now, or do you want us to keep going with everything that?
Yeah, you can end it on my channel because I don't know.
End it. Okay.
Yeah.
And
thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. There's never enough time. There's so much we could talk about, but yeah.
That's
much love, Ben.
And love you, Mike.
Love you, Mike.
See you soon.
Cheers, mate. See ya.
Have a great day.
Take care, Ben.
All right. And so
we had 13th Monkey sneak in, and we haven't really said hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome,
just
Mike.
now. I'm still figuring out some audio issues, and I don't have a webcam, so sorry.
Ah, we still have
Oh.
your beautiful voice. That's all we need.
You sound good.
It's a little
can
bit
share
low if you've
screen.
got a volume you can turn up.
You can put up a
But you'll have
picture
to
of
describe
yourself.
yourself to the audience now because there's no camera.
And we've got Luke.
I tried doing a picture thing, but that doesn't seem to.
Doesn't want to do it either. Oh, well,
Doesn't want to
that's
work
all right.
either.
We shall get by.
I'm tired.
So, who wants to take the floor? Who's got something they want to share with the audience to blow their mind out of their ears? Not that your mind lives in your head or anything.
Just
you know what I'm
thinking of so many things that
I'm too tired.
Ben
I
touched
woke
on.
up-
So many things that have to do with.
Too tired.
Yeah, because you text me like join when you wake up, so I joined.
When you have time. You didn't have to, run right this second. There.
Did you say you've just woken up and you're too tired?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an oxymoron.
I only had 8 hours sleep.
Only had 8 hours?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that's what most people only get.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might have a problem.
I sleep on. I get. I
you're
only
not
do
alone
like
then.
about 4 hours.
Yeah,
Four,
sometimes
8
hours
hours
is
a day,
like
and
food
2
works
hours
well.
during the day too.
I suppose you're still a growing boy, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, that's it.
You just got up and you're tired. All right.
Your videos
Let's
are
bring this
greatly
back. Let's
appreciated.
entertain the people. Have you got anything you want to talk about, Mike or 13th Monkey?
Is my audio coming through? Do I need to boost anything?
Yeah. Yes, it is. We can
Perfect.
hear you well.
Excellent.
Can you guys hear me?
Anything I want to present, like Ben was talking about the realm, and your topic seems to be the realm. I've been looking into Google Earth as I usually do, and old maps. I can present screen and
Yes, please do.
let's see, share screen. That one.
And actually, now that Mike 13th Monkey, please post your email that is linked to your YouTube channel in the private chat. And now that Analog Ben has left, I'm going to switch it over to you and get your channel up and going. And we'll also get Luke's channel up. We can rotate it, and it's no longer live on Ben's channel, but we will make it live right away on 13th Monkey's channel. And this is the link for 13th Monkey's channel that I'm posting for everybody in the live chat to go subscribe to. Please continue.
Very much appreciated, guys.
An IV, are you okay, Sherry? I hope everything's all right. I have an IV drip in my arm. Yes.
Shit.
Thoughts to you, Sherry. Hope you're doing well. Hope it's nothing serious.
Yeah, well, soon.
I hope it's just a really bad hangover.
Just a hangover, getting rehydrated, maybe. Too many margaritas with chocolate on the side.
It's Valentine's
Have you
Day,
ever had-
so
Oh, it's Valentine's Day. She's overdone it.
Is my screen share coming through?
We have to put it up. Hang on.
boom.
There we go.
All
We're on the
there
ball.
we go.
We know how to drive this.
Did Campbell just say we're on the ball? Sacrilege.
Not as in just standing on it. Is that where it comes from? Where does that saying come from? He's
Yeah,
on the ball.
That would be where.
That would be where? So, like, he's a flat earther. Ha ha. He's on the ball.
Like my pitch.
Interesting.
I keep this on my desk.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
King John Orr is Luke's dad. There you go.
No, I do that. I tell people it's my dad, and I just act like like it's completely normal. So people see it on the side of my desk and be like, "Oh, who's that?" I'll be like, "It's my dad." And then
Welcome, Jay Dreamers. Welcome, Jay. And actually, we'll get Jay. I'm gonna also send to you. She'll send it to you first to get live on Jay's channel. Then we'll pass it along.
All right. You do that in the background, and we'll let.
I'll be in the background. You guys continue. I'm gonna shut the F out.
Yes. The audience, I want to hear about your business stuff. All right, take the floor, 13th Monkey, and welcome, J Dreamers.
Welcome. Hey, so this is from 1598.
Welcome, Jay. Nice to see you.
Ooh, this is a nice map.
And
So back when the Earth was hollow, did they say you're in the ball instead of on the ball?
I'm in the skull.
But
I'm exposed.
But
I've got a joke
as you
about
can
that.
see, this is fairly accurate from all of the stuff you can see, right? Ireland, England, Scotland, Europe, Anatolia, which is now Turkey, Syria, Tartaria, China, Mongol. Right here in the north at the coast of a sea. And if you go further in, you can see America is pretty much fully there. South America, North America. If you go further into the future with these maps, you got more mentions of Mongol, Gog, right here at the sea. And the further you get into the future, because these maps are just aligned by age. More mentions: Tatar, Mongol, Tenduk, Katai, the Chinese wall. That's Quinsay, now Shanghai. But if we look at Google Earth, that's Mongolia. Pretty much aligning to what was China. And then there's Siberia. Where does that come from?
Right? Like,
Well,
it grew.
where does it come from all of a sudden? Because it takes all the way up to, like, I think 1700 something before even the Kamchatka Peninsula starts showing up. We got 1740.
Luke was pointing that out actually about a week or two ago. Between all the different maps we were looking at of that area, literally like in 50, 100 years, just a massive chunk of it appears and they forever change.
The same here.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research recently, and I think we've almost located pretty much everything from that corner. Like we found Argon and almost Cumberlich, stuff like that. So it definitely is. If you see there, just where that like Gulf of Tartary is, just above Hokkaido. So right there, yeah, there, Gulf of Tartary. So basically, just to the left of there, you've got the Amur River, and that'll lead you down to a few places like Argon and stuff. So that means Tenduk is basically in that area. We haven't found exactly where it is, but it must be in more space. So yeah, like we've been asking the same question, where the rest of it came from, but it looks to us like changing water levels.
If you look at all of those old maps, there's a lot of mentions of Karakorum or Karakorin or something like that.
Yeah, that's Karakorin. Yeah,
that's right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the old city.
You've got also the Alchemist, which is obviously the Altai Mountains. Just beneath that, you've got Kumu, which is Kumu Khanate, stuff like that. Yeah.
But if that is mentioned as being one of the northernmost cities on all of those maps, right? You look at all of those old maps and Karakorin or Karakorum, it's always somewhere right up the north, right at the edge of the sea, close to a small lake. Karakorin.
So if
maybe then a small lake.
If you go to the right now, you'll find Argon. So you've got the River Amur, and that cuts off into the River Argon, which is where the Argon people are from. Which, that just there. See that river? The way it goes down a bit. So wherever the Amur is, it comes off and it goes into the Shilka and it turns off into the Argun River. So somewhere on the Argun River, we found a small town called Argun, which is the Arguns.
Is it Argon or Argon?
Well, it's spelled Argun with a U, but you have to be careful because there is another one near Russia. So I think it's in Georgia, the other one, or something like that. Might be Russia. But the Argun River, if you put that in, it should come up. Although I think my friends had a lot of trouble finding it on Google Maps. But if you go on iPhone, weirdly, it comes up. But it's to your east now, the river. Like quite a bit east, but there you. So follow
this is it, right?
No, a bit south. If you follow the river, can you see the Amur? Sometimes spelled with a Y, but yeah, it's that. So if you follow the Amur towards Lake Baikal, just keep following it. And then at some point, it'll turn into 2 there. See where it cuts into 2? That should be where it turns into Argon, I think. Zoom in, go more to your north or wherever. Nah, you missed it. It's really difficult with the delay, I think. But yeah, keep following the river. And then at some point, you'll see a big fork and it'll turn into... is it there? Yep, I think this is where it turns into the Argon. So somewhere around here, you've got Argon.
Argon's one of the noble gases. That's also one of the reasons we get the northern lights, right? The gas is being stimulated up north and causing those beautiful colors.
As soon as it ionizes any of the gases, the noble gases, when they get into an ionized gas state, that is the plasma state, at which point they put off light.
But yeah, for reference, on one of these old maps we were looking at, that we had the translation for, it said about Argon, it was talking about it as the kingdom of Prestigion. It said a Christian kingdom in Asia, which is obviously referring to like Tenduk, because Tenduk is the one that was founded in 1290 with Prestigion charge and stuff. So, and it says that as Argon. So if you, like I say, if you follow the Amur, at some point it turns into 2. One is the Shilka, which carries on. And the Shilka will take you to Nerchinsky, is it? I think the Russian town's called Nerchinsky, something like that. But there was a treaty with the Chinese in I think the 1800s or maybe late 1700s between the Russians and the Chinese, where they divided this land between them, and they called the Amur like basically the border between their countries. And it's called the Nerchinsk. Yeah, that's it. That's the piece. So that is where it becomes the Argon. You were following it then. That you keep going where you were going.
This way.
Yeah, that way. That is now
All right.
the Argon. It's become the Argon now, and all this river is the area which would be known as Argon. So Tenduk would be around here somewhere.
All right, that's awesome.
Yep. And for some reason, Google Earth just won't name that river. But if you go on iOS maps, it just comes up Argon River straight away. So,
Hey, Argon.
yeah, there you go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I just want to say hi. Sorry,
Oh,
it took
with
me a
me.
second. I was getting set up.
We should actually pause it for a moment. Welcome, Jay Dreamers, as well as Ancient Historia, Stellium, 13th Monkey. Cambell's currently missing. So Mike, 13th Monkey, as well as Jay Dreamers, both of you need to momentarily quickly go to your emails that are attached to your YouTube channels. I've sent you invites, temporary invites to be administrators that as soon as you click on them, follow the link, then it'll bring you back into here. And then I will walk you through how to quickly add your channels on so that we can be live on your channels as well. And the multi-streams just go on and on and on. And as soon as you guys got to do that so then we can do it for Luke. So we can also be live on Luke's channel if Luke would like. Ancient Historia up in this house.
You know, I've never actually been live on my channel.
Oh, then if you haven't activated it, you got to do that, and then it's a 24-hour until
Okay. I don't even know.
it actually lets you. So
I'm a
maybe
virgin.
we won't be live on Luke's. We popped
Ben
Analog Story today. We're gonna also have to pop Mike's 13th Monkeys channel.
Seems to work.
Ben was live today on his channel, and it's the only video on his channel so far.
Right, I know. Yes.
It's a good beginning.
Ben is lacking.
Very well.
Even
I'm gonna have to go and
compared to me.
so I might jump back in.
Fair enough.
He's been on everybody else's channel multiple times, but he hasn't bothered to start his own channel. So we were talking about plasma. Speaking of plasma, we got Mr. Plasma here. Wonderful to see you, Jay. How you doing?
Thank you. Oh, that's also. I was looking up the word argon. It's come up in my research a few times, and it comes from the root Proto-Indo-European word arg, like ARG, and it means to shine, with like correlations with light. So it literally means shining one or of the shine.
Interesting. It's kind of the opposite of how we use it now. Arg.
Yeah, pirates and all that stuff. I think that's might be why they do that too.
Yeah. It's kind of like sick, you know, they just invert all the meanings of all the words. So
oh, I also just want to give a huge personal shout out to Waking Up with Analog. I'm sad that he left. I was trying so hard. Like I literally just woke up and I saw you guys all talking, and then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be chill and listen. But then like everything that you are all talking about was getting me so excited and so freaking pumped up. I'm like, okay, let me make some coffee and jump in here because this is good stuff.
Yeah,
it all dovetails. I was having to hold my tongue a whole bunch of times when I wanted to say stuff, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Right.
Yeah, but also if you ask the wrong question, it just goes sideways because he's got so much information. He end up somewhere completely different.
Yeah, it's important
to get their channels on. And Luke, post your email as well in the private chat, and I'll send the link to you so you can add yours too. And 13th Monkey, you it's waiting for you in your inbox to click on, and then we can get you your first live right now, like we did for Analog.
Let's see where it is. Yeah, I think I clicked it. Oh, wait, there's a whole bunch of Enter Studio things now. So where do I go?
So you follow them all. And it'll bring you back in here, I think. Or it'll bring you to another one. Another StreamYard? Does it do another StreamYard?
Yeah, I'm doing the one on the one browser, and I'm doing the broadcast on the Brave browser because it works better.
Nice.
For StreamYard, I can't do any audio settings with Firefox.
Oh, Abby Oz. Good vibes. Thank you for supporting the cause. $20 on somebody's chat. Right? It's like, that's the beauty of multi-streaming. Everybody gets the love. So as soon as it brings you back into StreamYard website, both Jay and Mike, let me know. Here, I'll actually just be able to show you guys quickly that it should bring you into this sort of area, the members, and you want to click on destinations and then add a destination and click on this YouTube, and then it'll automatically load and be able to get you in there. So those are the steps that it should bring you to. And back to the world. And let me know as soon as you do that, and then I can add your channels to the stream. And this is a good time, actually, for us to take a quick 5-minute bathroom break or something. Shall we?
Why not? Well, since I have gone ahead and prepared, we're going to watch yours. Well, I prepared
Well, put yours in. I brought mine out.
I even called it intermission. I don't know how good it is.
Right? What was I thinking? Put your intermission. Let's play Cambell's beautiful intermission.
I hope it's good.
Just when he got back.
I can't remember what it was. Oh, there you go. It's not very good at all. Oh my God, there's what?
And what now? What?
Okay.
And the butt.
Oh, I just saw the private chat. Wow. What are you doing?
I don't know. What are you doing?
It's down at oh God. This one, isn't it?
You present and then video file.
Yeah, but it's we're very professional here, guys.
Learning different one step at a time. We're learning something new. We're live on 16 different things right now. We're also streaming to 3 Rumbles, 2 OdySees, 7 YouTubes now, 3 Facebooks, 2 Twitters. It's ridiculous. We're about to add on JGMA stream as well as channel as well as 13th Monkeys and History. Ancient Historia, sorry. Lucas.
Okay, I think I've got an intermission. All right. Some black and white movies for your enjoyment.
sudden.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, all right, I'm back. Oh, how do we go? Campbell, you're muted. Or are you? Can we hear Campbell?
Yeah, I think Campbell's muted.
Weird. But I just fixed it. We are back live on Rumble and on all of our OdySees. And we're live on all the YouTubes except for Mr. J. J, if you want to add it in, I will show quickly. It goes like this.
I was on mute.
Yes, you were good, Campbell, sir. So
I was talking, but I was on mute.
We saw, but I wasn't lip reading, sadly.
I know, I can tell, right? You just talk straight over me and you're giving everyone a lesson in StreamYard.
Yeah, it's the StreamYarding. It's an amazing thing. So, Jay, if you're there, if you see to get in to add your channel, it's the destinations on this one. So you have to open a separate StreamYard tab. Then on the left, click this destinations, add a destination, and then click on the add your YouTube channel, and it will let you do that. So that normally it does the broadcast. You got to click to this destinations and then add the destination and your YouTube. And yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
There we go. So we hope you all enjoyed your lesson. There'll be more coming up on BurnEye's what's that channel called? Learn with Burn. That's right. Learn with Burn.
Learn with Burn. I like that.
We're gonna have to rename you the Stream King.
He is definitely the Stream King. I think there needs to be a movie made about him. And you, of course, there needs to be a movie made about young
all of
Michael.
us.
And there is an interview up on your channel over at Stellium 7 of your antics when you were a younger man.
Back when I was a troublemaker.
Yes. So if anyone hasn't seen it and doesn't know the story,
that was cool.
You have to go watch the video. But Mike was a bit of a hacker back in the day. One of the first, one of the best. He did it well.
I didn't do it so well. I got caught.
He got caught, yeah. But you got caught with the best, and you were the first to get caught. So you know, it's like gold medal, right? You were the first. You get the gold medal for being caught.
Yeah, I think I wasn't the first hacker to get caught, but I definitely was the first to actually go to jail for it. So.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah,
gold medal.
That was a dubious honor. But, yeah, so that video that you just mentioned was really cool because
your audio is a little bit low. Can you turn up a little bit?
Where do I do that? I've got a Yeti microphone.
Pretty deep.
It might be in settings. If you hit the settings tab and go to audio, there's a mic volume.
StreamYard settings, or
if you hit the mic volume, it'll turn you up because you're called Mike.
StreamYard settings, I think it would be in, and then
sorry, StreamYard in StreamYard. Can you see that settings tab?
Audio mic. I see the settings. I'm in on audio. It gives me a mic, like to choose a mic, but it doesn't give me a
you might not
slider
have what
to
we
increase
have.
it.
Well, that sounds pretty decent. And
there's been a couple times I've been talking and I wasn't sure if I was muted because it didn't seem like people heard me. So, maybe,
but Jay, if you want to add it in now, otherwise we're gonna have
to hear Mike. All right, just let us know in the chat.
Yeah, we can hear Mike. All right. But I've got to pass the link otherwise to Paul to try to invite Paul in and add him on. But maybe we'll just do that on the next one. I guess also.
Yeah, let's do that. This is all stuff that should be done in the chat, Bernie.
Well, how did I know we were going to be graced with the lovely pleasure of so many more?
Because you kept sending out invites.
Guilty as charged.
People used to do this with houses, invite too many people to a party.
Yeah, that's right. Trying to work out the parking, man.
Yeah, no, just about that video you mentioned, Campbell. I had Gary McKinnon, who's the NASA UFO Pentagon hacker, who was very famous through basically from 2002 to 2012. made a comment on my channel a few weeks back, and I
This
recognized the
channel
name,
right
but I
here.
didn't. That channel, yeah, I recognized his name, but I didn't quite make the connection. And then a little while later that day, I'm like, wait a minute, is that who I thought it was? And I just assumed he was reaching out to me because of my past related to hacking. I thought maybe he'd seen me on Wikipedia or something, and it turned out he was just interested in the subject of alternative narratives when it comes to geology and archaeology and this, the kind of stuff we're always talking about. And so I sent him just a little link to a video that I'd made for a Kickstarter promo about a year ago. And he's like, what? You did what? Let's, he wanted to talk. So we had a fantastic couple of conversations, and I posted part 1. That's him right there. Yeah, it's a very
interesting. Hackers reliving their glory days, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Very interesting conversation. So, yeah,
nice.
And then I had another interview recently with the author Thomas Cowan. He's been awesome through the whole last few years when it comes to the pandemic and all the different things that we've undergone, and one of those truth warriors. And I had a great conversation with him. So
nice.
Check them out. They're worth the time.
There you go, guys. Go across to Stellium 7. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And yes, learn about his hacking past.
I just posted Stellium's link in the live chat for everyone. As you can see, we're live currently on Andreas Zertis, on 13th Monkey, on Stellium 7, on my BurnEye, on my Crypto Alchemist, and of course on Cambell's AutoDidactic. We might also be live on Jay's by the end of it, but maybe not. It might have to wait to the next one.
He's actually asking for help in the private chat.
Okay, if you do want,
go and talk to him in the private chat, and let Mike get back to what he was presenting.
Well, I got to share this. He's asking for the help. If you're here, Jay, on StreamYard, you open up another stream tab. It'll usually just come to this broadcast. You hit destinations instead. Add a destination. Add your YouTube channel, and then it goes in. And then that way it live streams. But enough of that. Back to Mr. Mike.
I can't wait till he's back because I want to pick his brain about instant petrification.
Sounds a bit painful. But anyway.
Yeah, there we go. Let's just talk about instant
people's brains. That's harsh.
Okay. I guess it's an old expression. Huh? Showing my age.
I wonder where that came from. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? I think it came from.
But so many of these expressions are, right?
Oh, sorry, we can hear you back
when Ben was talking earlier, there was all this talk about this kind of fractal nature of reality, and I definitely think that's the case. There's these different resets, and the deeper down we go, the bigger everything seems to get. And we've got all the history of giants, and then before the giants we had the titans. And so it was really Jay's video years ago, Petrified Titans, that kind of clued me into the possibility that this mountain that I've since done a lot of research on in Spain might have actually been a titan once upon a time. And this ties into the whole idea of plasma apocalypses and volcanoes going nuts, and all the different potential ways that things can petrify. So I'm definitely curious to talk to him about that one.
Is there a mountain around?
Yeah. So Mike is looking at this grid that Ben was talking about earlier, and if you zoom in on those close, those are perfect 1 mile squares, and they go on for tens of thousands of square miles, and they follow contours. So when you look at them from above, they had to have been laid down, like Ben was saying, by laser, because the accuracy is perfect. But what's really weird is when they encounter mountains, they seem to either have been there before the mountain, or they're going under the mountain or something.
Yeah, I mean, which may lend to your hypothesis as well a bit, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. That maybe first was some kind of a grid or creation, and then you had.
Is it visible
I think
on
a
the
lot
YouTube? All of these
Yeah, we
squares.
can see it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and Mike has been finding these not just in North America, but all over Siberia, all over Africa. We've got these grid patterns and the canals. I mean, it's just this place has been terraformed in ways that are hard to even fathom.
Have you seen the trees? I think they're in Russia. Like there's this area and it's just full of these lines of dead straight trees. Like
yeah, I think Mike has those marked out on the mapping.
Yeah, that's what I'm showing Cambell. This is
there you go.
All those red lines that you see marked out, and that's pretty much all over Siberia.
Almost looks like language-ish. Oh, but then
and this is just, and I've just taken like sections. This is just sections of Siberia where I just zoomed in and spent a bit of time drawing lines that seem to randomly go through the forest. Let me see if it wants to load in.
So, what are they? Canals?
You're going a little fast, so it's not ever getting clear because you're moving around a little too quick.
Yeah. I mean, Google Earth is notoriously bad when you try and stream it, unfortunately.
It's
but
absolutely.
Are they on top of lines that are etched in the ground? Are they?
Yeah. All of the red lines are pretty much following lines etched in the ground.
And that follows contour also. So there's straight lines going up and over mountains like that. It's just
okay, we can see them
there. You see it
a bit, yeah.
And at first you might think, okay, is that some kind of a rendering thing that Google does? But when you get in closer, it's not a rendering thing. You can see it's like cutting right through trees and
it's got no trademark. When you get down, all you see is the Google Earth trademark. So this is like, see, this is, we've gone from like, mud flood in Tartaria 3 or 4 years ago to
you see the pattern?
This realm might be fully terraformed and constructed.
I just taken a border here to show the pattern, but it goes outside of the border. It just continues on. It's everywhere.
Yeah, that's definitely going to feed into a whole lot of people's ideas about simulation theory because it starts looking like a video game when you.
Well, it does, doesn't it?
Get into it.
It's very sort of Tron, isn't it? Remember Tron, the original one, and the all the ground and everything was just made out of squares, basically.
Yeah. Has anyone, Mike? Do you know of anyone who's actually, been on the ground and seen these with their own eyes and followed them? I mean, I guess obviously.
I've read something on a translated Russian article that somebody inquired with the government as to what was up with that stuff. And they were just, we don't know. You think we have time to go and send somebody through a forest doing that? No idea. That was all he got. But that's translated from a Russian article somewhere on the depths of the internet. I don't have a link for you anyways. But you can clearly see it. It's there. Somebody took the effort to plonk all of this stuff down.
Well, and obviously in the Midwest, you have all these roads, and those roads connect to known towns, and you can get in on Google Street View. So clearly it's not being faked. But it's just one more massive example. You pile that on top of the stuff that Paul Cook has been showing, that everything has been terraformed on a level that is pretty bog-mindling.
This line here goes up and up and up and up, and there's a lake. Up. There's the line.
Right. So which came first, the line or the lake?
And it just there's another lake, and there's the line again.
Really? Look at that. That's a crazy old canal. Or a giant wall. What the devil? Or it's a road.
That's man-made.
That's a road. My bad. Sorry, I didn't see all of that.
That's man-made stuff, but
that's clearly just a road.
This could be man-made, but it sure took somebody a very, very long time to cut all of this stuff out through the Siberian forest. Or did they grid out the whole of Siberia and then planted a forest?
Right, or something underneath it, terraformed it, and then the forest grew above but couldn't grow in certain areas with what's ever on it. This stuff's weird.
Just grid it out. You can, if I zoom in a bit more, you can follow the...
Yeah, those are strange ones.
And so is it like, do you think it's the same as the Nazca lines kind of thing?
I got a whole bunch of those mapped out as well.
I suspect so.
That's different altogether yet again, but it does seem to be of a similar.
They say that that's
nature.
chalk, don't they? I mean, I don't know if it's true, but they say it's sort of etched out and filled in with chalk or something, don't they? But I mean, there's no way you could do that realm wide, on a grid. So I'm wondering what it is. Like, because clearly they've been there for, millennia, probably.
That's some of the Nazca lines mapped out.
And Nazca just looks like it just got pummeled, doesn't it, with an ocean like exploding onto it or something.
Right? Like everywhere. Well, I guess Siberia and Alaska look like it exploded out into the ocean or something, or something exploded on it. It's crazy.
Lines on the top of the mountains in there. Wow.
Yeah, like they're terraced mountains, and like it's nuts the amount of terraforming that's involved in these Nazca line things. Like, look at that. It's entire mountain ranges, the entire tops of the entire ranges, not just one mountain. The entire range is completely leveled.
Like I said, what I mapped out is just a part of it. It's so massive. What is this?
That's
what is that?
That's the lines they missed.
I mean, they made modern use of it.
In there. Wow. What? That looks like a language.
Yeah, this is modern.
AKB4H.
Yeah, that's modern. I looked that up.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But it's several layers. Like, there's a whole bunch that I didn't even get to draw out yet. It makes another turn here. So all of this is just part stuff. There's so much more. But I can't do it all. I really can't. There's too much on Earth to be mapped out.
So the
I'm just curious.
One of the things I've been
very quiet.
When you were you in with? Oh no, it was Paul was in a live stream on his own, and I've been wanting to talk with him about limestone because he's Paul Emer, and he's showing all of this stuff that's been laid down, and is clearly man in quotes made. And one of the things I keep wanting to show him is what I consider to be native limestone, right? Native stone, and this ties into the trees, and in my opinion ties into Titans as well, because if they laid down all of these different layers of the old worlds, and it's obvious that they did, because you can see him going through it with high definition video, then they had to have all the materials. That's an unusual one.
This is
they had to have all the materials to make the polymers so that they could pour these massive blocks and create these structures that we're seeing everywhere on a scale that's out of this world. And so my take is that they were mining the Titans.
Is that bit in the middle moving?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
It is.
Wow. It's like a floating island in a little pool. That's amazing.
It's
sorry, Mike. Mike.
What the heck is that?
Mike 1 and Mike 2. Mike 7 and Mike 13. That's what we'll call you.
You can call him Monkey. Maybe someday he'll evolve.
Monkey.
So someday I'll evolve and get a keyboard that's quiet, right?
Yeah. Someday you'll be the 14th monkey.
Nah.
We don't want to hear. You don't want to know what happened to the other 12.
I'm just thinking we got a long way to go to get to the 100th monkey. Gosh.
I didn't want to interrupt Mike's.
Keep
Mike's
going,
flow
Mike.
of thought, but this is a floating island that has vegetation on it growing, and I'll just go through the years. I'm just going through the timeline, and you can see the whole thing moving. Mike,
That's insane.
you got the mic. Mike.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just trying to help
Mike 7
Jay here for a second.
Makes you sound like an android when you have a number after your name, doesn't it? Mike 7.
Yes, sir. What would you like me to do?
Find all the star forts, please.
Find all the star forts.
Find the Rockefellers and exterminate.
Exterminate.
What did I miss? What?
When there's a name, when there's a number behind your name, you come off as an android. Mike 7.
Yes, Dr. Lenny, we've actually I've been on one, but Bernie's actually done three or four live streams with the great uncle, well, the great nephew of
Royal Rife, yeah, great.
Yeah, and he's remaking the machines and putting it out there. So check those out. We're right into all that stuff.
I guess we can go like that. And actually, Rife's
we're done.
Sorry. Oh, wrong one. My bad. Rife's coils actually arrived yesterday to me. They brought them to me, but the freaking Canadian government wanted to charge me $400 in just taxes on it. So I have 10 days to somehow come up with $400 to pay for it at the freaking
to get what?
The Rife coils that he donated.
Oh, the coils. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that he donated. So now, oh my God.
Yeah, he donated them. So it's like, here's like $800 worth of the high coil system or whatever. But no, the government of Canada wants half that price just for you to receive. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So who knows? Somehow, maybe they'll get shipped back to them. I don't know.
Who knows? But yes, and thank you, Spider-Man. And yes, everyone send a thought out to Dutch. His uncle has passed, but we will be catching up with him in the near future.
Indeed, most likely on this weekend's 48-hour live weekend at BurnEye, where we will have 20 different channels all being live on their channels for their presentations, minutes.
That's right. Bernie is determined to blow up StreamYard by trying to get the most channels possible
Absolutely.
running
And
concurrently. So join in
no
if you want to
worries.
see StreamYard explode.
No worries, Jay, if you got a dip and didn't quite know what you were getting into with this one, as we
Bernie
are
will
trying out the
contact you and
multi-stream.
give you lessons.
But I will email you, Jay, just to set up a one-on-one with you where we can go into your OBS and you can teach me on that, because I know nothing of that Streamlabs or any OBS stuff.
Yeah, the
I'm only
OBS,
familiar with
man.
the
I want
StreamYard.
my streams to look cool like Jay's, man.
Everybody should
Like,
start a channel.
I feel inept. Is that the right word? Inept.
Right.
Yeah, he's definitely got that down.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah. Like, he doesn't even need to put, like, the comments come up by themselves and stuff, and it's very cool. But anyway. So yeah, Jay, we definitely love you to join us.
In the future.
When is it? This weekend? I don't even know.
Yeah,
when it
this
is.
weekend. The event is already up on our channel, so I will add the others who want to be on it. And it also gives the option. The beautiful thing is that you don't have to be live for. Not everyone has to be live the entire time. They can just be live for the segments that they come into the stream for, and can end it as soon as they leave out. And that we will only be staying live for the full 48 consecutively on YouTube on our backup channels, but we will be sporadically through that 48 hours going live on the main ones with such of the programs as my Science of Sound series that will also be next weekend as part of it, and things like that.
Thank you very much, Alistair. And happy Valentine's Day to you and to everyone out there. I hope you had a nice day with your Valentine. And if you don't have a Valentine, I hope you had a nice day crying in the corner. No, I hope you had a nice day and found something nice to do and smelt a flower, saw the sunshine, something like that. I hope you didn't cry in the corner. That wouldn't be fun. And so, where's Sherry? What did we work out? Is Sherry? Are you sick from too much chocolate, Sherry? Did you over Valentine?
Does Sherry have a chocolate IV?
I think maybe it was a chocolate IV. Yeah, chocolate in one arm, margarita in the other. I think that's what was going on.
I believe.
All right. So, who has something they want to talk about? Anyone who wants to? Oh, we're back. Okay, right. We've got Mike 13. Is back on the go.
Mike 13, here to answer all your questions.
Oh, that's
I was talking earlier when I came in about like the old maps that show.
Yeah, I saw the wall on that one. Yeah,
the city of Karorari or Karkorum and the city of Tatar Tenduk, which what's his name? He was in here earlier. He was looking at the city of Tenduk.
Yeah,
Luke. Yes.
yeah.
So if you've got the city of Tenduk sitting here and you've got Karkora here, this is Nova Zembla. Everything basically going west is all fairly accurate, right? The Arabian Peninsula, India, Indonesia, all of this stuff looks pretty good. Black Sea, Crimean Peninsula, Caspian Sea looks a bit quaint. That's on a lot of old maps, though. You really wonder how that sea looked in the past. But getting back to
digging it out.
This, if Karakorum and Tenduk are, well, somewhere here and
yes. Oh
here.
My God, this is so what I've been wanting to do and look at. We are not ending anytime soon. We're getting real deep into it now.
Where does all of this come from?
Exactly right. that chunk of land, man.
Because they considered map making a high art back in those days, right? That was something they really famed themselves on for having map accuracy. Well, the Chinese wall is there, the Korean peninsula, Japan, albeit a bit askew.
Japan, yeah, it's a bit wonky.
The
This
Philippines.
makes me think of Martin Kenny's theories.
Where is Siberia? Because they got America here, Alaska. Look at it, just on Google Earth.
Right? Like, I've got serious questions. It leaves with
little
serious questions. That's like, it's
Does
ridiculous.
wait, go back to where you just were, because that curve continues around. So that, yeah, right up there, and it curves up and to the left from where you had your cursor. No. To the right. No, to the right. There. To me, it's like, no, it's hard to describe with words, but I'm just thinking of Martin Kenny's, what was his theory called? The cosmic egg or something like that. And he was talking about, growth outward of the realm, like tree rings.
Yeah.
So if something like that were happening and every so often, periodically, the realm literally expands, then it would lay down new material from the inside out.
That's fascinating.
That might explain the presence of Siberia.
So this whole section, pretty much within the white lines. Pay no attention to this stuff, but the white lines
grew out of nowhere.
That stuff is not on old maps. It just shows up at some point. They literally feature the Lake Baikal is the northernmost lake.
Yeah.
And that's here.
Huh.
Because it's slightly north of Karakorum, Tatar, and
so could these?
Yeah,
I mean,
Karakorum is here.
It clearly looks like there's less land, but could because we know they love to change the names of towns and cities and move them around. Do you think that could be part of what's going on? I mean, there's clearly a lot more land on that Google Earth.
No, from what I've been looking in, sorry, I'll let you talk about this, Mike. You probably looked at more of these maps.
Most of the Mongolians that are asked about all of these old cities that they still live next to, no idea where they came from. This is called the Old Town. And it's similar to the cities in China. It's square walled cities. And they tell you that the Mongols were a race of roaming people. All of these blue stars, they resemble the remains of cities. All of them.
Wow.
And that's in a country that is considered one of the least populated countries in the world today. Cities as big as Beijing.
We need to, see what we can find. Yeah, wow.
That's why
we need to have a second age of explorers.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't go to most of these places without somebody interfering in your... Like, everybody knows about this Chinese wall. You see the yellow lines? That's the Chinese wall that everybody sees in the pictures, and everybody tells you it's visible from space.
Yeah.
Those Chinese walls... nobody tells you about. This Chinese wall, they run pretty much the whole course of the old Silk Road.
Oh, okay. Nice.
This part here was always known as a desert. So let me draw that out.
All right. Well.
Oh, good,
I've
Jay.
just worked out it's actually 1:45 in the morning here, and I've got like a stream in like 7 hours or something. So I might bow out, but feel free to keep going, you guys. And
Okay, yeah, well, I'll go for another 20 minutes or so here, unless you guys
just keep my
want to.
channel going because there's a few people watching. Don't want to cut
Definitely.
them off. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Nice to see you all again, Mike and Mike. And everyone in chat, and I'll be back in the morning. And
have a very good night.
You. All right, have a good one, guys. See ya.
Cheers.
See ya.
I'm just going to, while the two mics talk a little bit more here, I'm just going to run upstairs and put the link in our Old World History chat, see if anybody else wants to come on, but also end it on, well, I guess I should show what I'm also doing, the redonkulousness of it. We're also live on 3 Rumbles, 3 OdySees, 2 Twitters, 2 Facebooks, and 7 YouTubes right now. It's redonkulous.
We're getting there. It's okay for me to cut it short as well. Like I've got 2 cats to feed and myself.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess we might as well.
We can always come back to this.
Yeah, I should probably get a little nap in before having to do the wife responsibilities of Valentine's Day, which it definitely is today. So be good to all of your sweeties and give them sweets. Don't be sour on Valentine's Day. Any last words, Mike and Mike?
No, it was a pleasure to join.
No, it was fun to be here. Hopefully we can get it going faster next time and actually cover a lot of content because
100%
so many things to talk about. But we're working out the bugs. This is a whole new thing of, swap streaming with multiple channels on multiple platforms simultaneously. So you're
flood the tube with the
going, but
exactly
got to work out the bugs, right?
Right, exactly, and that's what it's all about. And that was so much going on, and that we've now integrated the OdySee and Rumble, so that we will be live on them every time, as well as YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and also now through StreamYard, they give a little option to connect in your Instagram to make these short videos out of the recordings afterwards, which reminds me, I can actually play a demonstration of that and give everybody just a tiny sample of the Dutch synths that was promised to them, but he wasn't able to make it due to family tragedy, sadly, but he will be with us this weekend. Here's a little.
So anyway, it's pretty intense.
Literally, there's hundreds, thousands of giant stories, pyramid stories, burials of these elongated skulls. It's these reset, long lost higher civilization on mega macro scale. The work you found, Dutch, of literally
tall. They were known for being extremely tall. And now get this. The Galatian people had moved down to Turkey in somewhere pre-Rome time. So this is a standard time frame, right? But pre-Rome time, the Galatians came from Ireland and settled down in the Turkey area. And the red hair thing and the tall people, and they said they were seafaring. This is now in the legend, and that they also spread out other places, which then of course fits with every other
No,
continent
no,
around the
no.
world.
So Turkey, this is weird because Turkey is just above Assyria, right? So if you take Assyria, which is the old name for Britain, was called Albany or Albion at one point. So that name comes from in 1650 BC, an Assyrian king decided to fucking leave Assyria and go sail somewhere else, and he went to Britain, which is why they named the place after him. But if you go into mythology, Albion was actually a giant whose corpse is Britain itself. Like, he died and we're living on his back, right? So you take the two things into, you know, with a pinch of salt, and you mix them together. Perhaps, like you say, if Turkey was covered by these ginger giants, perhaps Assyria was also, and perhaps he's the person that's gone over to Britain to create this race of giants. Again, if you look at Gog Magog, who is the apparent last giant to be killed in Britain by Brutus when he arrived there. Welsh folklore will show you that Britain was previously inhabited by giants. Well, you'll see that he's depicted as a ginger, tall-haired Pictish man, Picts resembling Tartarians, but he's a giant ginger man who is killed before humans can move into Britain. So don't you think that connection between Turkey apparently being inhabited by tall ginger people, then Assyria, just below Asia Minor, which was Turkey at the time, you know, apparently has Albion, who comes over with giants, and then Gog Magog, one of his descendants, is killed, and he's a tall ginger giant.
We cannot overlook that. You're on to something huge here, guys. This is all live, just so you know this.
And for just a little... And for just a little what's going on, we are live on AutoDidactic, on Andreas Surdis, my BurnEye channel, my Crypto Alchemist, and on my Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. And next time we'll also be live on your Twitch, where you constantly have your model running your active forecasting, measurement, or live.
The G word. It's the G word. It's the forbidden globe word. But now, hey, you know what? I could address it right now, actually, just so, because I know our audience overlap, and that there's people that, you know, are all over the board, and they want to know where I stand, and we can just bury the hatchet right now. And I was joking about it earlier, but I can stand by it. I think I could present evidence to show it that Earth
100%. Actually, I got to pause you 1 sec. Right before you start, I have an announcement to make. I officially am a trash can earther. It is both flat and round, and it is also the hypercube, essentially. And now
he beat me to the punch. He beat me to the punch that Earth is flat all the way around, and that I think I could prove this. Think of a diamond. Think of a princess cut diamond. Okay. Now I can't prove this visually yet with some kind of thing launched into supposed space, but that the continents themselves, guys, that we can take and fold Earth like a piece of origami, and that we'll find that Earth is faceted like a jewel, almost like a floating jewel in space or whatever, that it comes to points.
All right. So those were a couple of clips that I took from the last Dutch Sense interview, and that I will be doing many, many more live or short clips, but where those were just segments of the streams, I'll actually start editing them. And it's been a heck of 2 weeks learning all of that and not sleeping much, just editing and being with all of you lovely folks. I'm going to shut up, Mike and Mike. Since we're also live on your channels, what good words do you have to say to your peeps before we...
Thanks for tuning in, and next time we'll have more nuggets, I'm sure, to share. But trying to work out all the tech.
I'm just going with Mike's words there.
Right, and
but
what a beautiful
thanks for having me.
Putting it all together, BurnEye. We'll try and get it going.
Thank you all for being here too. So hopefully we'll see you all on this weekend at the very least, and look for a little bit of us on all of each other's channels. We'll see you later. That's how
It's okay, guys.